Chapter 248. Oh, the brightest star in the night sky, please guide me to you. In the living room of the hotel's business suite, Zhang Juanji had just finished singing a song. It was Lu Chen's The Brightest Star in the Night Sky. Chen Fei was the first to clap his hands. He gave a thumbs up and praised, "Xiaoji, you sang really well." This handsome boy was 15 years old this year. He was just a step away from the puberty stage. His voice was not bad. This song, The Brightest Star in the Night Sky, was obviously practiced. The pitch was very accurate and the breath was quite on point. It was praiseworthy for a boy of his age to be able to do this. However, Zhang Juanji was far from a professional singer. If Lu Chen could hear it, so could Chen Fei. Even Sister Li herself was very clear about it. Fei, don't spoil Xiaoji. He just wants to be fresh and fun. His talent is really not good enough. Sister Li said frankly, he just wants a chance to try and see if he can do it. If it were an ordinary person, it would be very difficult for Zhang Juanji to walk the path of a singer. His voice lacked memorable characteristics, and it was nothing in the circle of Beijing. However, he was not an ordinary person after all. His parents were upper-class people in the circle. As long as they were willing to put in the effort to support, even people who were worse than him could be supported. Lu Chen thought for a moment and asked, "Xiaoji, have you really decided to develop your career in singing?" Zhang Juanji nodded very seriously and said, "Yes, I want to be a big star in film, television, and singing." Being successful in film, television, and singing was probably the dream of countless artists. However, there were not many people who could really achieve this. Not everyone was qualified to be called a big star in all three fields. "Well, your ambition is commendable," Lu Chen laughed and said, "then you have to work harder than others." He did not criticize Zhang Juanji for being too ambitious. It was not a bad thing for a teenager to have lofty ideals and ambitions. Zhang Juanji also had the foundation and capital. Lu Chen pondered for a moment and said to Sister Li, "Sister Li, if you want my opinion is not to let Zhang Juanji go solo." Sister Li's eyes lit up. "You mean to form a team?" Lu Chen nodded. "That's right. I suggest you sign two newcomers of Xiaoji's age and appearance to form a boy band together. I think it should have market appeal." At present, there were dozens of boy and girl bands in the domestic pop music industry. The boy bands were deeply influenced by Japan and South Korea, and many of the members of the boy bands were artists from South Korea or Japan. Therefore, the market for boy groups was still very big, especially among the young people. Most importantly, the formation of a boy group could make up for Zhang Juanji's shortcomings and highlight his strengths. Chen Fei seemed to have understood something. Just like MSN? At the mention of this name, the Heavenly Queen quietly glanced at Lu Chen. Lu Chen sensed it and smiled bitterly. Yes. Sister Li had doubts. If it's a boy group, isn't Xiaoji a little too young? Most of the members of a boy group in China were trainees. After a long period of singing and dancing training, they usually debuted at the age of 18 or 19. When they were mature, they would be in their early 20s. This age group was currently the most popular. Zhang Juanji was only 15 years old, which was too immature. How could young fans like him? Lu Chen said, "It's a little small, but there is a market for the post-2000 generation. Those born after 2000 were all post-2000, and the oldest was just 15 years old. This market was usually classified as children's songs. No boy group would deliberately cater to this age group of fans." Lu Chen's idea was undoubtedly quite fresh. Sister Li furrowed her brows and pondered seriously. Chen Fei smiled and said, "I think it's a good idea. Songs can be specially written for this." "Xiaoji, what do you think?" The key was Zhang Juanji's own decision. Zhang Juanji was very happy. "I like to form a team so I have companions. Mom, what do you think we should call it?" He couldn't wait to come up with a resounding name for his team. Lu Chen's suggestion was really great. Sister Li sighed and said, "Your mom is old. I don't understand the thoughts of you young people." Zhang Juanji could only continue to ask Lu Chen, "Brother Lu Chen, can you think of a name?" Lu Chen smiled and said, "Then let's call it the Little Tiger Group. We'll have 3 members just like MSN. Your nickname will be Little Handsome Tiger, and the other 2 will be Little Flying Tiger and Little Cute Tiger. What do you think?" Little Tiger Group? Zhang Juanji seemed to be struck by lightning. He was dumbfounded. Little Handsome Tiger, me? At his age, this was what he was most fascinated by. Adults might think it was childish, but for teenagers like them, it was an irresistible temptation. Little Tiger Group? Little Handsome Tiger, Little Flying Tiger, and Little Cute Tiger? Chen Fei and Sister Li looked at each other. After all, Chen Fei was a big shot in the circle. After thinking for a while, he understood Lu Chen's whimsical idea. Sounds good. Sister Li's reaction was a little slow. She clapped her hands and said, okay. Then let's form a boy group for Little G. Little Tiger Group. I will go back and register this brand first and find someone to do the publicity plan. She was the CEO of a star agency. The more she thought about it, the more excited she got. The brand's logo will be 3 cartoon tigers. In the future we can license it out. We can customize shoes and clothes, stationery, games, animations, we can do it. She couldn't help but stand up and walk back and forth twice. More and more ideas appeared in her head. In China and abroad, it was not uncommon for boy groups or girl groups to become big brands. Many star groups had launched their own clothing, cosmetics, and even food, making a lot of money. The Little Tiger Group mainly targeted the young market of 15-year-olds, and the spending power of this group was not low. Of course, Sister Li did not forget who came up with the idea. Lu Chen, this brand was thought up by you. Sister Li, I can't take it from you for free. I will exchange 30% of the shares with you. In the circle, Sister Li's forthrightness and magnanimity were well known. She was not inferior to men and was very particular in doing things. Lu Chen only provided a name, and she decisively gave up 30% of the shares to Lu Chen. It was really generous. Sister Li was not a simple-minded person. She was a little woman from the inland with no power, no background, and even no looks. She made a name for herself in Beijing. It was impossible for her not to be smart. But she still gave it to him happily. In fact, from another point of view, the existence of 30% of the shares could tie Lu Chen to the Little Tiger Group. And whether this brand could become popular or not, it was absolutely inseparable from the support of Lu Chen. Just like the currently popular MSN. If it weren't for the songs written by Lu Chen, could it have become popular so quickly? Absolutely impossible. Therefore, Sister Li was definitely not joking, or was temporarily hot-headed. For the development of her son, she could sacrifice all her interests, let alone a mere 30% of the shares. Qin Fei said with a smile, Sister Li, everyone who sees it has a share. What about me? Sister Li said with a smile, if you are willing to contribute, I will also give you 20%, so that you too can take half. Qin Fei said, what couple? I'm joking. Sister Li chuckled, I'm not joking. If Qin Fei really wanted it, she was really willing to give it. With the support of these two and herself, it would be hard for the Little Tiger Group not to become popular. For the 30% of the shares that fell into his hands, it would be a lie for Lu Chen to say that he was not tempted at all. Of course he would not take it for free. In addition to this idea, Lu Chen could come up with more things. He got up and went to the study and soon came back with the guitar. Because he was going to stay in Jinling for a long time, Lu Chen brought a lot of things including this guitar. Qin Fei was shocked. You're not going to write a song for the Little Tiger Group now, are you? The so-called Little Tiger Group was just an idea, it had not even been formed yet. She knew that Lu Chen's talent in writing was unparalleled, but this was too unbelievable, right? Lu Chen smiled and said, you got it right, but there's no prize. There were not many scenes left for Zhang Juanji, and he would be going back in 2 days after filming. Sister Li would definitely follow him back to Beijing. Since the decision was made, they would definitely start forming the Little Tiger Group. But Lu Chen's filming had just started, so he did not have time to participate in it. Therefore he simply came up with a song first. This way, whether it was recruiting members or preparing for the album, he would have the most basic things. It sounded a bit unbelievable, but it was normal for a song to make a singer or a team famous in the pop music industry. In order to save time and improve efficiency, Lu Chen did not care about shocking the world. Anyway, there were not many people present. He held the guitar in his arms for a moment and then plucked the strings. Sister Li was very smart. She quickly took out her phone, turned on the recording function and put it in front of Lu Chen. The white cloud crosses the hill, trying to find its home, the light rain awakens the sleeping lotus from its dream, and opens its smiling face, I make a kite of youth and climb to the sky, the shell climbs the beach to see how big the world is, the caterpillar looks forward to a pair of beautiful wings tomorrow, the river lies in the arms of the forest and sings a song written in spring, I slowly weave the years into a picture. Dreams are the butterfly's wings, youth is the heaven of flying, let go of the kite's long line, paint love on the face of time. The heart is the power of growth, just like the butterfly's wings, against the wind the sound becomes louder, the song becomes louder. In the clear and clean voice of Lu Chen, Sister Li and Qin Fei were completely stunned. They thought that what they heard would be a rough and primitive work of inspiration. Because the Little Tiger group came up with the idea on the spot, it was not strange for Lu Qin to have musical thoughts. But no one would have thought that what he played and sang was a complete piece of work. Whether it was the lyrics or the melody, it was simply tailor-made for the Little Tiger group. Chen Fei stared at Lu Qin absent-mindedly. She wanted to know how many more miracles were hidden in Lu Qin. Chapter 249. Butterflies fly, just like children running in the wind, feel the rainbow of youth, farther than the sea, higher than the sky. Butterflies fly, fly to the castle of the future, open the skylight of dreams, let it grow faster and better. Butterflies flying. Lu Qin finished playing the last note, then asked the 3 audience members in front of him, "What do you think of this song?" Sister Li, Chen Fei, and Zhang Juanji all clapped their hands. Lu Qin smiled, raised his right hand to his chest, bowed and said, "Thank you." Sister Li couldn't help but ask, "Lu Qin, what's the name of this song?" Chen Fei said, "It should be called Butterflies Fly." Lu Qin gave her a thumbs up. "Smart." Chen Fei rolled her eyes at him. What, smart or not, it was just a normal judgment. What surprised her was that the style of this song was very different from Lu Qin's previous works. It was not a folk song or a love song, but more like a youth nursery rhyme. There were a lot of works in this genre in the past, but they were classified in the category of theme songs. Basically, they were the products of national educational institutions. Now that it was fully marketed, there were very few new works. Chen Fei sang theme songs before, so she knew this very well. Private record companies or entertainment media companies aimed at a higher age group. Teenagers didn't even have the qualifications to buy concert tickets, so how could they attract the interest of these companies and specifically cater to their needs? And for the younger generation, a large number of domestic and foreign children's songs flooded the market, so they didn't need to create new works. Therefore, this age group market was intentionally or unintentionally ignored. In fact, in the past, several companies tried the water, but they all lost money and didn't produce any good works. Lu Qin's Butterflies Fly was undoubtedly refreshing. The song had a light melody and positive lyrics. While maintaining a popular style, it was also very suitable for teenage boys and girls. It was a perfect match for the Little Tigers, proposed by Lu Qin. At this age, they should listen to and sing this kind of song. Because of this, Butterfly Flight was unlikely to be Lu Qin's reserved work, but if he created it on the spot, how could it be so perfect? If it weren't for Sister Li and Zhang Juanji, Chen Fei really wanted to crack open Lu Qin's head and see how many wonderful ideas were in it. It was admirable and shocking. Lu Qin said to Sister Li, "I will give you the score of this song tomorrow. It will be one of the songs of the Little Tigers in the future album. What do you think, Sister Li?" Sister Li smiled and said, "I'm very satisfied. This song can totally be the title song of the album. In the future, I'll have to trouble you to write 2 more songs for them. Only then can we guarantee the sales of the album." She had brought her son here tonight with the intention of building a good relationship between Zhang Juanji and Lu Qin. She hoped that the latter could give Zhang Juanji some pointers in music so that his future would be smoother and faster. After working in the entertainment industry for so many years, Sister Li deeply understood the importance of networking. In fact, Sister Li was not very willing for Zhang Juanji to pursue an acting career, but since her son liked it, she spared no effort to create various opportunities for Zhang Juanji. For example, she previously got a role in Autumn in My Heart, through Chen Fei, which was to pave the way for Zhang Juanji. Eileen Chang once said that one should become famous as early as possible. Starting at 15 years old was not very early. But what Sister Li never expected was that what she wanted was a glass of water, but Lu Qin gave her an ocean. The idea of the Little Tigers was really great. If it was someone else who started a young boy group like this, there was a high chance that it would not succeed. But with Lu Qin's support, the situation was completely different. The success of MSN was the best example. And with the formation of a team, Zhang Juanji would have companions and he would not be lonely. Sister Li's gratitude to Lu Qin was beyond words. Lu Qin nodded and said, "There's no need to worry about the album. The first thing is to form a team. Dancing, singing, and physique all need training. After I finish shooting this TV series, I'll come back and think about the album." To form a boy group or a girl group, it was not to say that you could casually find a few people to come over and immediately make a debut. It usually took a long time of training and learning, and only after reaching a certain level could they officially appear. A girl group like MSN was very rare. It was also because of their good foundation and hard work, coupled with the large investment and resources of Flying Stone Records, that they could stand out in a short time. Such an example was difficult to replicate. Zhang Juanji had just turned 15 years old, so there was no need to work so hard. He also had to take care of his daily studies. Sister Li understood the reason. Well, then we will wait for you and Fei to come back in Beijing. She reached out and patted her son. Hurry up and thank you, brother Lu Qin. Zhang Juanji said with a smile. Thank you, brother Lu Qin. I will rely on you and sister Fei in the future. Lu Qin couldn't help laughing. Sister Li glared at her son. Glib tongue. She stood up and said, then I won't disturb you too. I'll go back with Xiaoji first. A touch of shyness suddenly appeared on Chen Fei's pretty face. She quickly got up and said, I have to go too. Sister Li, let me send you down. Let's talk. Sister Li laughed. That's so embarrassing. It's all my fault. I didn't choose a good time to come over. Her smile was very ambiguous. If it weren't for her son's presence, she would have teased the two of them. Lu Qin was a little depressed. He sent Sister Li, Chen Fei and Zhang Juanji out of the room. Tonight's opportunity was actually very rare. It was not easy to break through the boundary. Just as he was thinking of spending a warm and romantic night with Chen Fei, it was ruined by Sister Li, who didn't know what was going on. Although Chen Fei was a mature woman, she was still very conservative and reserved in this aspect. She wouldn't let Lu Chen cross the boundary easily. After this incident, she definitely wouldn't return to Lu Chen's room. The long night passed quietly. The next day, Lu Chen got up early and called Li Feiyu to go for a morning jog. Peter Pan was a typical otaku. Other than his daily work, he wouldn't stand if he could sit, and he wouldn't sit if he could lie down. He spent all his spare time in front of the computer, so his physical fitness wasn't very good. However, if he wanted to be a qualified assistant, he couldn't do it without a good body. After working as an assistant for a period of time, he understood this principle, so he took the initiative to exercise with Lu Chen. As a result, after only running a kilometer, this guy was panting like a cow, and it was difficult to walk with his tongue out. Lu Chen laughed and said, your body is too weak. No wonder you haven't been able to chase Sister Xiaomei until now. You really have to practice hard. The story of Li Feiyu chasing Xiaomei could be written into a TV series. Although Xiaomei had long been a receptionist in Lu Chen's studio, Li Feiyu hadn't really gotten the moon yet. According to him, he was currently in the observation period, and there was still a long way to go before he could get on base. Li Feiyu said with a bitter face, take it slow, take it slow. Lu Chen shook his head and said, then you run slowly. I'll go first. He sped up and ran along the river bank. Soon he left Li Feiyu behind. Jinling was very beautiful in autumn. This 1,000-year-old ancient capital had a different charm from the capital. It had the same rich history, but the difference was the style of the people. Running on the long road, through the barrier of mist, Lu Chen could better feel the beauty of the city. After 2 hours of morning exercise, Lu Chen, who had breakfast, returned to the hotel. He and Chen Fei took the latter's car and rushed to the set of the film and television city to meet up with the crew again. The first 2 episodes of Autumn in My Heart had been shot, and the 3rd episode was currently being shot in an orderly manner. If everything went well, the 2 real protagonists, Lu Chen and Chen Fei, would appear the day after tomorrow. Today, in addition to checking the progress of the shooting, the other 2 people had to take makeup photos. The so-called makeup photos, also known as styling photos, were photos taken after the actors were dressed for a certain role. According to the description of the character image in the script and the director's intention, the photographer, together with the art, makeup, costume and lighting departments, explored and studied the character's style. The makeup photos might be completed in one shot, or they might be repeated many times. The final photos were also the basis and reference for the makeup crew to make up for the actors during the shooting period. As the male and female protagonists of this TV series, their makeup photos were naturally very important. In addition to the shooting, they would also be used for the upcoming promotion of the TV series. Under normal circumstances, the TV series could start broadcasting after shooting 6 to 8 episodes on the weekend. Although the premiere unit of Autumn in My Heart hadn't been finalized, the promotion and hype couldn't be delayed, because it was related to the most important ratings. Ratings were always the most important standard to measure the success of a TV series. Several costume and makeup artists surrounded Lu Chen and Chen Fei for an hour before they finished the required styling for the show. Lu Chen's outfit was relatively simple. He was handsome and had a good foundation, so the makeup on his face was more to decorate than to cover up. It was enough to fully highlight the contours of his face. He was wearing a custom-made black and blue suit, paired with a white shirt and well-ironed trousers. It was a perfect match with his well-trained body, and he had the temperament of an idol. Chen Fei, who had light makeup on, was wearing a cheap plain white dress. Her long hair fell to her shoulders, bringing an indescribable charm. There was a hint of purity in her beauty, making it impossible for people to feel that she was nearly 30 years old. When the two of them stood side by side and smiled at each other, the cameramen, makeup artists, and other crew members were all amazed. They were really a perfect match. Whether it was height, appearance, temperament, or the tacit understanding between the two of them, it was really difficult to find a more compatible couple in the entertainment industry. Note: Butterfly Fly, lyricist/composer, Li Ziheng. Chapter 250. Someone once said that taking a promotional photo was like taking a wedding photo. It looked beautiful, but it was actually a very painful thing. Lu Qin and Chen Fei's promotional photos took 2 full days to finish. But neither of them felt any pain, and Chen Fei, or even enjoyed it. In the end, he picked out a batch of original photos that had not been edited, saying that he wanted to promote them on his blog. After taking the promotional photos, Lu Qin and Chen Fei officially appeared in the 3rd episode of Autumn in My Heart. What greeted the two of them was a 2-month shooting period. What Lu Qin did not expect was that his sister, Lu Shi, came to Jinling that afternoon. Zhang De, the general manager of Chenda Brothers Pictures, and the program director of Hygiene Satellite TV were also with her. That night, Lu Qin and Chen Fei hosted a banquet in the hotel where they stayed. In fact, strictly speaking, the real guests were only the representatives of Hygiene Satellite TV. Because Autumn in My Heart was jointly invested by Chenda Brothers Pictures, Chen Fei Studio, and Lu Qin Studio. The purpose of Hygiene Satellite TV's representatives to negotiate was for the premiere rights of this TV series. In this regard, both Chenda Brothers Pictures and Lu Qin Studio attached great importance to it. 2 general managers accompanied them to Jinling to meet with Lu Qin and Chen Fei. Zhang De, the general manager of Chenda Brothers Pictures, was in his 40s. He was short and stocky with a square face and thin eyebrows. His face was full of shrewdness. He spoke more or less like a gangster, but whether it was to Chen Fei or Lu Qin, he was very polite. When they met, Zhang De and Chen Fei just shook hands gently and then withdrew their hands. But he shook hands with Lu Qin very firmly. He smiled heartily and said, "I have long heard of Mr. Lu Qin's name. Today is the first time we meet, and you really live up to your reputation. Thank you very much for giving our Chenda brothers a chance to cooperate." Lu Qin smiled and said, "Director Zhang, you're too polite." Zhang De said, "It's only right to be polite. The Golden Phoenix is here. Let me introduce her to you." He was introducing Zhong Yu, the program director of Hygiene Satellite TV. Zhong Yu was in his 30s, he had a burly figure like a northerner, a square face, thick eyebrows and big eyes. If he were to appear in a TV drama, he would definitely be the main character. To be able to sit in this position at the age of 30, Zhong Yu was undoubtedly not an ordinary person. He was also very polite to Lu Qin and praised him a few times. While Lu Qin was exchanging pleasantries with the two of them, Chen Fei was chatting with Lu Shi. Chen Fei had been to Lu Qin's studio before. Of course she knew Lu Shi. Although they were not sisters, they had common topics to talk about when they met. It was just that this time, when she met Lu Shi again, Chen Fei, who had always been graceful, was a little nervous. A faint blush appeared on her pretty face and she spoke more carefully. After the introductions, they sat down together and inevitably talked about business. There were 3,000 or 4,000 TV stations in China, but there were only more than 40 satellite TV stations. Hygiene Satellite TV was one of them, and its scale and strength were definitely not bad. However, among the more than 40 satellite TV stations, Hygiene Satellite TV's presence was very low. In other words, the average ratings were not high. Not to mention that compared with the popular fried chicken like Xiangnan Satellite TV, even with many satellite TV stations in the southwest and northwest inland provinces, there is not much advantage. There has never been any trump card program that can be taken out. As one of the 4 major satellite TV stations in China, Hygiene Satellite TV was really a little embarrassed. Some people once analyzed that the reason for this situation, in addition to the problems of Hygiene Satellite TV itself, the main reason was that it was too close to Beijing. With the 2 big signboards of CCTV and Beijing TV, it was easy for excellent talents to be lost. Whether this statement was correct or not, Hygiene Satellite TV's weakness was obvious. Without a fist variety show with high ratings, it was not their turn to premiere a popular TV series, and they could only eat leftovers. Of course, Hygiene Satellite TV would not be willing to fall. Last year they launched a talent show with great momentum. As a result, the ratings were low and it ended hastily. The advertising income was not enough to cover the costs. Now the director of the program department of Hygiene Satellite TV came to discuss in person for a TV series. It was unexpected but not something incredible. At present, there were big stations such as Beijing TV Station and Zhejiang TV Station who were interested in the premiere rights of Autumn in My Heart, but the conditions offered by the two were not very high, at least not meeting the expectations of the three investors. This was normal. If it weren't for the golden signboard of Chen Fei as a gimmick, even if Lu Chen and Chenda Pictures took the initiative to come to the door, the two TV stations might not pay attention, and they would only be willing to talk about a very harsh contract. The number of dramas shot in China every year was very considerable. Most of them could only be broadcast on small TV stations in third and fourth tier cities. The fierce competition was not what ordinary people could imagine. The big TV stations with high-quality resources naturally had to carefully select and wait for the best price. Unless it was a popular work by a big star, a big director, or a big IP, they would rarely take the initiative to put down their pride and chase after it. Autumn in My Heart was currently a hot topic on Waves's blog. In addition to Lu Chen sparing no effort to promote it, the most important thing was that it was the first TV series in which Chen Fei played the leading female role. Now that the large-scale publicity had not yet begun, Hygiene Satellite TV came to the door with the idea of picking up the leftovers. The ordered wine and dishes were quickly served. Everyone ate and chatted, and the atmosphere was very harmonious. The Chinese people's habit was to talk about business at the wine table. After 3 glasses of wine, the original strangers also became friends. Many things that were not easy to say could be talked about openly with the help of alcohol, which was a unique business culture. While toasting, Lu Chen learned about the initial offer made by Hygiene Satellite TV. Zhong Yu, representing Hygiene Satellite TV, proposed a buyout price of 300,000 yuan per episode for the exclusive premiere rights of Autumn in My Heart. The total price for all 20 episodes was 6 million. As an exclusive buyout, this price was undoubtedly not high and even a little low. Because if nothing else, Chen Fei's salary alone was millions, plus Lu Chen and other actors. 6 million was barely enough to cover the actors' salary costs. Of course, this exclusive premiere rights were limited to TV stations, and the exclusive network broadcast rights could be sold again. In addition, if the premiere was successful, then the rebroadcast rights could be sold at a better price. Many TV series relied on the sale of rebroadcast rights to achieve profits. It was just that such an offer had no advantage compared to Beijing TV Station and Zhejiang TV Station. But since Zhong Yu came in person, he must have come with sincerity. In addition to the buyout price of 300,000 yuan per episode, Hygiene Satellite TV also gave a condition that neither Beijing TV Station nor Zhejiang TV Station could come up with. That was the VAM agreement to raise the price according to the ratings. Based on the national average ratings of 0.25% for every 0.10% increase, the buyout price for one episode would increase by 100,000 yuan. That is, if Autumn in My Heart premiered on Hygiene Satellite TV, if the national average ratings of 20 episodes were below 0.25%, then the buyout price paid by Hygiene Satellite TV would be 300,000 yuan per episode. But if it reached 0.35%, it would be 400,000 yuan per episode with no upper limit. In addition, regardless of the ratings, Hygiene Satellite TV gave a minimum purchase price of 6 million yuan. It was precisely because Hygiene Satellite TV made such a sincere offer that Zhang De, the general manager of Chenda Brothers Pictures, and Lu Shi accompanied Zhong Yu to Jinling. Because neither Beijing TV Station nor Zhejiang TV Station would give this kind of price increase agreement. Perhaps it was a little difficult for outsiders to understand. Such a VAM agreement was clearly a win-win agreement. The higher the ratings, the more the advertising would be sold. Why would Beijing TV Station and Zhejiang TV Station not agree? The reason was very simple. Whether it was Chenda Pictures, Lu Chen, or even Chen Fei, they were not qualified to make such a condition. The rules could not be broken. And how to put it, Hygiene Satellite TV's position in the circle was not high enough, so they were naturally willing to put down their pride. The minimum purchase price of 6 million yuan was already full of sincerity, and the VM price increase was to take a gamble. For a weekend show, it was really not easy to reach the national average ratings of 0.25%. An increase of 0.1% was considered a great improvement, and the promotion of advertising was very obvious. After understanding the initial price offered by Hygiene Satellite TV, Lu Chen and Chen Fei looked at each other. Chen Fei told Lu Chen with his eyes that the price was completely negotiable. Lu Chen thought the same, but even though he was very satisfied in his heart, he still remained calm on the surface. He raised his glass to Zhongyu and said, "Director Zhong, I would like to toast you. Thank you for your love for our TV series. It's just that I'm still very young and I don't know much about these things. Why don't we talk about it after watching the sample tomorrow?" Business negotiations were not what Lu Chen was good at. Professional matters should be handled by professionals. If he was exposed, it would bring trouble to the subsequent negotiations and put his own side in a disadvantageous position. Whether it was the minimum price or the VM agreement, they could still be discussed. That was Zhang De and Lu Shi's business. Zhong Yu's eyes flashed, and he raised his glass and clinked it with Lu Chen. He smiled and said, "Mr. Lu is too polite. Of course that's no problem." He did not have the slightest displeasure, and he even sighed in his heart. Not only Zhong Yu but even Zhang De had a whole new level of respect for Lu Chen. He was worried that Lu Chen was young and impulsive, and that he would be blinded by the other party's offer and agree on the spot. Now it seemed that Lu Chen was much more experienced than he thought. Lu Chen smiled and said, "Besides, Sister Fei and I will be recording the theme song tomorrow. Director Zhong is also welcome to give us your guidance and valuable advice." Zhong Yu was moved. "Then I must listen to it. It's such a rare opportunity." Apart from coming to Jinling to negotiate, he also had to understand the filming situation. Everyone laughed, and the atmosphere of the banquet became warmer and more harmonious. Chapter 251. The banquet didn't end until 9 o'clock in the evening. Director Zhong Yu's alcohol tolerance was very high. He and his assistant worked together to resist the attacks of Zhang De, Lu Chen, and the others. They drank 4 to 5 bottles of red wine, and in the end they were only 70 to 80% drunk. Chen De had already booked a room in this hotel. Lu Shi followed Lu Chen to his business suite, together with Chen Fei. The two sisters drank a lot, their faces were red, sitting on the sofa with blurred eyes, whispering to each other. Although Lu Chen also drank a lot, his alcohol tolerance was trained, so he was very sober. He boiled some water for them to sober up. While he was busy, Lu Shi suddenly said, "Lu Chen, sit down first, I have something to ask you." Her expression was very serious. Lu Chen was surprised, but he still sat down. "What's wrong, sister?" "What's wrong?" A cold smile appeared on Lu Shi's face. She looked at the drunk Chen Fei and asked, "Tell me the truth, are you in a relationship with Sister Fei?" Chen Fei was not so drunk that he couldn't hear clearly. His face was so red that it was about to drip blood. Although there were a few friends who knew the real relationship between the two, but Lu Shi was Lu Chen's sister, the closest person. This was completely different. Lu Chen was silent for a moment. Suddenly he held Chen Fei's hand and answered seriously, "Yes." "So it's like this." Lu Shi suddenly felt discouraged. She had long suspected the relationship between the two, and now she finally got a confirmation. It felt a little weird. In Lu Shi's heart, Lu Chen was always a troublemaker who liked to follow her, and he needed the care of his family. This was the most important reason why she came all the way to the capital to help Lu Chen. But now she suddenly found that her brother had really grown up. Not only did he have his own business, but he also found his life partner. Why did it have to be Chen Fei? Lu Shi felt very unreal. She was going to have a sister-in-law who was the heavenly queen? To be honest, she was Chen Fei's fan. Lu Shi was proud of Lu Chen because her brother was outstanding enough, but she also felt a little disappointed and sad. When Lu Chen held Chen Fei's hand and admitted their relationship to Lu Shi, the sweetness in Chen Fei's heart almost exploded, and her eyes were full of unspeakable tenderness and love. As the heavenly queen of pop music, she had never felt inferior, but after establishing a relationship with Lu Chen, she inevitably had some thoughts of gain and loss, for fear that there would be emotional twists and turns. Now those unreliable thoughts were completely gone. Lu Chen felt Chen Fei's feelings at this moment and couldn't help holding her little hand tightly. Lu Shi saw it and said, "Sister Fei, you should pay more attention to Lu Chen in the future. He is very good at provoking girls. When we were in college, ahem." Lu Chen's throat was itchy. "Sister." Chen Fei covered her mouth and smiled, "Sister Lu Shi, I will." She glanced at Lu Chen proudly as if saying, "Now I have something on you." Chen Fei was a few years older than Lu Shi, but because of her relationship with Lu Chen, in order to reflect closeness, she also followed Lu Chen and called her big sister, and didn't need to care about identity. She broke free from Lu Chen's hand, hugged Lu Shi's arm and said, "Sister Lu Shi, sleep with me tonight and tell me about him, okay?" Lu Shi finally smiled, "Okay." Then the two got up and left, leaving Lu Chen alone, who didn't know whether to laugh or cry. The next morning they gathered in the hotel again and took the car provided by Qian De to the film city. Accompanied by many people, Zhongyu first visited the crew of Autumn in My Heart, and then carefully watched the first 3 episodes that had been filmed. Although the original videos provided by the crew had not been edited and dubbed, Zhongyu, as the director of the program department of Hygiene Satellite TV, had already reviewed countless episodes of the TV series and had long trained a pair of sharp eyes. Zhongyu had long read the script of Autumn in My Heart, including the chapters of the novel of the same name that Lu Chen updated on his blog every day. But the script and the novel were 2 different things. It was common for a good script and story to be ruined by a bad director and actor. Although Hygiene Satellite TV had decided to import this TV series, Zhongyu still came with a cautious eye. He had to be responsible for his own work. And the result of the review really surprised Zhongyu. This TV series had the potential to be popular. The story of the first 3 episodes was quite attractive. The opening scene of changing the wrong baby brought suspense, and the emotional story of exchanging lives made people have a strong desire to continue watching. Most importantly, Lu Chen's performance at the end of the 3rd episode was amazing. That's right, it was amazing. Ever since Lu Chen released Autumn in My Heart, wrote the script and played the lead role, the voices of doubt in and out of the circle had never disappeared. As a young singer who had just debuted, how could he act? Everyone generally thought that Lu Chen's TV series should be a show to sell his face, just like many so-called youth idol dramas. The lead and supporting roles were all young and fresh meats, not relying on acting skills, but relying on showing off their faces and bodies to attract fans. The only reason he was better than others was because he had a relationship with Chen Fei. Now Zhongyu found that this statement was simply ridiculous. Lu Chen's acting skills were not inferior to those famous actors who had professional training, and he was even one of the biggest highlights of this TV series. In contrast, Chen Fei's acting skills were a little worse, and he only made up for it with his appearance. In addition, the director Fang Hui's grasp of Autumn in My Heart was undoubtedly on point. The scenes had a delicate and pure beauty unique to female directors, and it reflected the atmosphere of the story very well. It was not that there were no shortcomings, but to be able to do this was enough to make Zhongyu look at it in a new light. This also made him more determined to win the premiere rights. After watching the original film, everyone had lunch together at noon and went to a music production company in Jinling in the afternoon. According to the scheduled plan, Lu Chen and Chen Fei would collaborate to record the theme song of Autumn in My Heart. This theme song, together with the makeup photos and the advanced trailer, would be used as promotional material for the TV series. This local music production company in Jinling has a high-standard recording studio. It was through the relationship of Flying Stone Records that they deliberately set aside half a day to record the song. The arrangement and accompaniment of the theme song were also completed by Lu Chen, who asked Lin Jijia to help him work overtime in Flying Stone Records. When Lu Chen and other large groups of people rushed over, the company's recording studio was already ready, waiting for the two to enter the studio to record. Although this studio was the largest and best equipped in Jinling, it had never received a big shot like Chen Fei. Chen Fei has been on the road for more than 10 years, and it was unknown how many recording studios she has been to. This kind of battle had no effect on her. Lu Chen has also been trained. The two entered the studio, put on the monitoring headphones and began the first recording under the lens of the camera. The theme song of Autumn in My Heart was carefully selected by Lu Chen, taking into account the requirements of Chen Fei. This song will also be included in her new album. There are a lot of love songs sung by men and women in Lu Chen's memory, but it was not easy to find a work that matched this story. Although the final choice could not be said to be perfect, at least there was no problem in style and emotion. The name of this song was Your Eyes. Under the accompaniment of the music, Lu Chen first spoke. I love you and forget to wake up, I'd rather close my eyes. Even if I don't wake up in this lifetime, you are my next life. Love is a hopeless situation, happy people don't travel far, breaking the bitter pursuit of spring and autumn, I'd rather drift with you. Don't let your eyes see the sadness of the world again, throw ourselves into the wind and rain and depend on each other, kiss your heart with my pain. Looking into your eyes, there are too many tears that don't stop, love you every step of the hardships of love, painful dreams are especially sincere. Lu Chen and Chen Fei sang together, and then they cooperated with great tacit understanding. Lu Chen's voice was as clear and clean as crystal, without any dust or dirt. Chen Fei's singing was like the sound of nature, gentle and affectionate, with a touch of sadness and melancholy, as well as the determination and firmness of love without complaint or regret. Although it was the first recording, and although they had only practiced a few times before, it was as if they had sung to each other for thousands of times. The feelings accumulated in their hearts suddenly burst out and completely integrated into the song. Naturally, it had the power to move people's hearts. This song, Your Eyes, did not have the sweet duet of ordinary love songs, nor did it have the pretentious struggle of those bitter love songs. There was only a little bit of love, full of feelings. The mood expressed in the song had the same soul as the story, that is, you see me, I find you, there is only you and me left in the world, all the scenery is in your eyes and that is enough. Don't let your eyes see the sadness of the world again, throw ourselves into the wind and rain and depend on each other, rely on each other. The most sincere feelings, nothing could be more than this. In the monitoring room outside the recording studio, everyone held their breath. Zhang De, Zhongyu, Lu Shi, Fang Hui, Sister Li Feiyu, and at least a dozen managers of the music production company, all listened to the song attentively for fear of missing even a single note. In the recording studio, Lu Qin and Qin Fei stared at each other, both seeing the deep feelings hidden in each other's eyes. At this moment, the two of them were connected in their minds. There was no need for words, the song was enough to express everything. Perhaps their feelings were full of ups and downs like the story, but at least now it was happy, warm and sweet. Note, Your Eyes lyricist, Su Changda / composer, Xiong Tianping. Chapter 252. Beijing Television Station. At 7:55 in the morning, Zhu Xiaotai arrived at the Variety Channel's program department punctually as usual. Director Zhu, good morning. There were already many colleagues in the office who had started working. They greeted Zhu Xiaotai when they saw him. Zhu Xiaotai nodded reservedly in response and strode into his independent workshop with his head held high. As the deputy director of the Beijing television station's Variety Channel, he had worked hard for 20 years to get his current position. Therefore, he knew how to cherish his position and never came late or left early. Even if he had nothing to do, he was happy to sit comfortably in his leather chair, drink fragrant tea, and leisurely read today's morning paper to understand the news that happened yesterday in China and abroad. The thermos beside the desk was filled with hot water, and the teacups on the desk had been washed clean. A stack of brand new newspapers that emitted the fragrance of ink was placed neatly. A beautiful day had begun. Zhu Xiaotai buried his burly body into the spacious and comfortable office chair and picked up a newspaper to read. There was not much work to be done today, so he could relax first. When Zhu Xiaotai finished reading the newspaper after drinking his tea, it was already 9 in the morning. He put down the teacup, stretched his arms and turned on the computer. Currently, Beijing television station was promoting paperless work. Internal documents, announcements, work arrangements, etc., were all transmitted through computers and the internet, including the handling of work. After entering his personal password and entering the desktop, Zhu Xiaotai opened his work log. After approving 2 trivial applications, he suddenly thought of something. The deputy director of the program department frowned, picked up the phone on the desk, and dialed an internal number. The call quickly went through. Director Zhu, hello. The voice on the other side of the phone was very respectful. Zhu Xiaotai's eyebrows relaxed, and his left index finger gently tapped on the table. He said calmly, Little Zhang, come to my office now. Yes, director. After a while there was a light knock on the door. Zhu Xiaotai said in a deep voice, please come in. A man in his 30s walked in and asked, Director Zhu, you were looking for me? Yes. Zhu Xiaotai pointed to the sofa beside him and said, sit down and pour yourself some tea. Mr. Zhang agreed, picked up the thermos and poured tea for Zhu Xiaotai and then sat down. Zhu Xiaotai nodded with satisfaction and asked, Little Zhang, I called you over to ask you, how is the discussion with Chinda Pictures going? Is the other party still insisting on their conditions? Chinda Pictures? Mr. Zhang was stunned and asked, do you mean buying the TV series Autumn in My Heart? Zhu Xiaotai was a little displeased, am I right? The TV series Autumn in My Heart was jointly invested and filmed by Chinda Brothers Pictures, Qin Fei, Studio and Lu Qin Studio. Beijing TV station Variety Channel intends to introduce this urban romance drama, which is currently quite popular. When Lu Qin came to Beijing TV last time to participate in the Star interview program, Zhu Xiaotai once had a face-to-face conversation with Lu Qin. Later they have been negotiating about buying the premiere rights, but the object of the negotiation was changed to Chinda Pictures. Chinda Pictures was not a big company in the industry, and Autumn in My Heart was not a big IP production. Of course, Zhu Xiaotai could not personally come forward to bargain with the other party. The work was handed over to his subordinate, Little Zhang. Zhu Xiaotai still trusted Little Zhang's ability. It was just that today he seemed to be a little unclear about the situation, which made Director Zhu secretly annoyed. Little Zhang quickly explained, Director Zhu, I sent the work report to you yesterday. Maybe there was something wrong with the computer. If you didn't receive it, I'll go back and send another one right away. Zhu Xiaotai was a little surprised and quickly clicked on the internal mailbox. Sure enough, he found the work email from Little Zhang. It was his own mistake and negligence. Director Zhu's old face turned red, he coughed and said, Pay attention next time. Since you're here, tell me about the situation first. Little Zhang said, Chinda Pictures has sold the premiere rights of Autumn in My Heart to Hygiene Satellite TV. Hygiene Satellite TV? Director Zhu suddenly felt a little toothache. How could it be Hygiene Satellite TV? He knew that there was more than one TV station that was interested in the new TV series, Autumn in My Heart. The most powerful competitor was undoubtedly Zhidong TV station. The latter's film and TV channel was interested in introducing it. The reason why Zhidong TV station was interested in Autumn in My Heart was easy to understand. In addition to Qin Fei the heavenly queen of the singing industry as the female lead, Lu Qin was from Zhidong, and last time in Hangzhou, he also saved Tian Tian, the host of Zhidong Satellite TV, and was very well known in the province. His first TV series that he wrote and acted in could at least guarantee a part of the ratings in the province. But according to Zhu Xiaotai's understanding, the price offered by Zhidong TV station was not much higher than his own, and Chinda was not satisfied. What the hell was Hygiene Satellite TV? Did they suddenly appear out of nowhere? Zhu Xiaotai was really a little confused. They actually won the exclusive premiere rights. He couldn't help but ask, what price can they offer? There was a hint of contempt in Director Zhu's words. Although Beijing and Hygiene were both municipalities, the former's status had been far higher than the latter since ancient times. Hygiene was equivalent to a subordinate city of Beijing, and Beijing people had a sense of superiority over Hygiene people since ancient times. Putting aside the giant central TV, Beijing television had always been condescending to Hygiene Satellite TV, and basically didn't have the latter in their eyes. So now when Zhu Xiaotai first heard that Autumn in My Heart was intercepted by Hygiene Satellite TV, he first didn't believe it. When did the guys from Hygiene Satellite TV become so bold? Although Zhu Xiaotai didn't have the heart to get Autumn in My Heart, and there were not many episodes that were sent to Beijing TV, he still felt unhappy in his heart. Xiao Zhang said with a wry smile, Director Zhu, I don't know about that. How could Chinda Pictures reveal the price of the transaction to him? This was a trade secret. Confused, Zhu Xiaotai slapped his forehead and said, I'll call and ask. The relationship between Hygiene TV station and Beijing TV station was a bit like the relationship between Beijing TV and Central TV. The communication between the two sides was quite close. Several of the directors of Hygiene TV station were from Beijing TV station. Zhu Xiaotai had acquaintances and old colleagues over there, so it was really convenient to inquire about things. He made this phone call for almost 10 minutes. After the call, his face was gloomy. Xiao Zhang moved his butt uneasily when he saw this, feeling a little restless. When he first went to negotiate with Chinda Pictures as a representative of the variety channel, he more or less had some thoughts of disapproval and never thought of the possibility of failure. It was normal for the variety channel's offer not to be high, but Chinda Pictures' bargaining made Xiao Zhang feel very disdainful. This TV series was nothing more than using Qin Fei Er's brand. Otherwise, how could a production unit like Chinda Pictures enter the eyes of Beijing television, let alone take the initiative to contact them? Now that they had given Chinda Pictures a chance to cooperate, they actually wanted to make a big profit. They simply didn't know what they were talking about. So in the process of the negotiation, Xiao Zhang deliberately dragged it on, waiting for the opponent to give in. Even though he knew that Zhidong TV station was also involved in the competition. He never expected that in the end Hygiene TV station would snatch away the premiere broadcast rights. He could completely understand his boss's unhappiness. Hygiene Satellite TV actually dared to come to Beijing's territory to snatch food. They were too daring. He didn't know what price they offered. Xiao Zhang asked cautiously, Director Zhu, what did they say? Zhu Xiaotai glanced at him and sighed. They offered a minimum purchase price of 6 million and put it on the satellite channel one's primetime premiere. Moreover, based on the national average rating of 0.25%, plus 0.1% and a reward of 100,000 yuan. There's no cap. Xiao Zhang was stunned. They really dared to offer it. Zhu Xiaotai deeply agreed. The minimum price of 6 million was also something that Beijing television station could afford. It was a very normal price. But the satellite channel one's premiere, coupled with the uncapped ratings reward, was really too much. It was simply shameless. Why would the dignified hygiene satellite TV be so hungry? That was a new TV series and the production unit was not a good person. Zhu Xiaotai was really a little speechless. In fact, hygiene satellite TV did not really give up much in this contract. The VM agreement was profitable, and the main thing was that they were willing to put down their pride. Beijing television station would never do such a dishonorable thing and break the rules. Zhu Xiaotai said resentfully, the contract has already been signed. Forget it. They'll know after they've suffered a loss. Xiao Zhang nodded vigorously. That's right. They dare to think of a national average rating of 0.25%. I estimate that it would be very good for this show to have 0.1%. They'll be lucky if they can recover their costs. He was even indignant. Chinda Pictures was also a fool. They sold this TV series to Hygiene Satellite TV. They didn't think that if it could be broadcast on Beijing Television Variety Channel, it would be much easier to sell the rebroadcast rights. It was simply short-sighted. Like Alchwang Pictures' weekend drama Urban Love, it could only be broadcast on the Urban Channel. The ratings of the Urban Channel could not be compared to the Variety Channel. As for Hygiene Satellite TV's ratings, they could only laugh. Did they have any good programs to show? Zhu Xiaotai waved his hand and said, well, it's not settled. You don't have to take this matter to heart. Go back and work hard. Xiao Zhang quickly got up and said, okay, Director Zhu, I'll go back first. After Xiao Zhang left, Zhu Xiaotai stuffed his body back into the chair. He felt that something was wrong. He thought for a moment, opened the browser on his computer and logged into the Waves blog. Chapter 253. Waves blog. The novel version of Autumn in My Heart has been updated on Lu Chen's blog for 20 days in a row, with 3,000 words updated a day. Now it has reached 60,000 words, which is exactly the content of 4 episodes. There are many bloggers who update novels on Waves blog. Whether it is out of personal hobbies or to attract fans through blogs, blog novels have become a part of online literature. Domestic online literature began in 2000, and has now developed into a considerable industry. There are as many as dozens of large-scale literary websites. In particular, in recent years, the IP fever has created a large number of bubbles, further pushing up the popularity of online literature. The top online writers can earn tens of millions of yuan a year. But precisely because the value of IP is getting greater and greater, most literary websites are very tight on copyrights, and the contracts signed with authors often include all copyrights. Therefore, many authors who are unwilling to be restricted will move their platforms to more open and free blogs, forums, or QQ circles. Of course, without the support of a mature platform, it is also very difficult to make money by selling copyright. Lu Chen updated Autumn in My Heart on Waves blog, mainly to promote and build momentum for the TV series that is being filmed, and secondly to pave the way for the publication of physical novels. Domestic physical novels are a real big market. Compared with the rampant piracy on the internet, the situation of the publishing market is better. There is no shortage of physical authors with an annual income of hundreds of millions. Autumn in My Heart was updated and published on Waves blog, mainly attracting Lu Chen's fans, especially girls who like this kind of urban emotional theme. This group of fans is actually not many. So in the beginning, the number of clicks, forwards and comments on Lu Chen's novel blog post was not high, but gradually the popularity became higher and higher. The main reason is that the novel has a strong story, especially for girls. The misplaced fate and entangled feelings between the protagonists deeply attracted them, and they read and comment on it every day. Many female fans have become free water armies. They spontaneously distributed the sorted-out chapters to major literary forums, and established the Autumn in My Heart novel bar. Without Lu Chen and Lu Chen Studios' deliberate attention, the number of members of the Autumn in My Heart novel bar has exceeded 50,000, and the number of posts has reached hundreds of thousands, which is no weaker than many popular online novels. In turn, the spread of the novel attracted a lot of fans, which pushed up the public's expectations for the TV version of Autumn in My Heart. On December 1st, Lu Chen, Chen Fei, Chenda Brothers Pictures and Hygiene Satellite TV simultaneously released news on their respective blogs, saying that Autumn in My Heart had officially signed with Hygiene TV station and would premiere on satellite TV at 8:30 p.m. on Saturday, December 12th. This news, for many fans of Lu Chen and fans of the novel Autumn in My Heart, really meant that Autumn in My Heart had been called out thousands of times. As a result, Autumn in My Heart quickly appeared on the hot search list on the homepage of Immerse blog. On December 2nd, 2 big verified accounts and 2 official verified accounts released the trailer of Autumn in My Heart at the same time. In this 3-minute trailer, your eyes, was officially played as the theme song. The TV series version of Autumn in My Heart was fully launched. The domestic film and television industry was unprecedentedly prosperous. A large amount of capital poured into the industry, and the competition was extremely fierce. A TV series, even if it was made by a big director, a big star, or a big IP, was unimaginable without publicity and hype. No party would do such a stupid thing. Good wine fears no dark alley. It was already a thing of the past. The days when a TV series could easily get hundreds of ratings had already become history. Now it was a new era of national marketing. Previously, Lu Qin updated the novel on his blog as well as the news of Qin Feier joining the cast as the female lead in advance, were actually part of the TV series marketing. But these were just small skirmishes. If they wanted to compete for ratings, this level of publicity was far from enough. Therefore, the representatives of Lu Qin Studio, Qin Feier Studio, Qinda Brothers Pictures, and Hygiene TV sat down again and began to discuss the publicity matters. Although the publicity channels of the investors and broadcasters were different, it was very important to coordinate and unify, so that they could avoid misplacement or conflict of publicity, save money and maximize the publicity effect. The exchange was still held in the hotel of Jinling Film and Television City. Lu Qin and Qin Feier, who were busy filming, took time out to attend. The focus of everyone's discussion, in addition to the publicity funds and scale of investment, was mainly on the publicity strategy. The publicity strategy was really very important. A good publicity plan could make an investment of 1 yuan produce 10 or even 100 yuan of publicity effect, and vice versa. Especially in today's internet era, the public had long been accustomed to all kinds of indiscriminate bombardment by the media, and they were not surprised by the endless means of publicity. It was getting harder and harder to make a job for an online promoter. Therefore, everyone needed to brainstorm and come up with new ideas. After all, the early publicity time was very short. Sister Zhang suggested, "Why don't we just hype up the scandal between Lu Qin and Feier?" Sister Zhang's real name was Zhang Jie. She was Qin Feier's assistant, and had been by Qin Feier's side for more than 10 years. She was not Qin Feier's first assistant, but she was undoubtedly the most trusted person by his side. This middle-aged woman in her 40s had a plain appearance, and she spoke softly. She did not usually speak much, but her support and help for Qin Feier was unmatched by others, so Qin Feier attached great importance to her opinion. Sister Zhang also attended the meeting, and as soon as she opened her mouth, she dropped a bomb. Everyone's eyes instantly focused on Lu Qin and Qin Feier. Most of them agreed and looked forward to it. Whether it was the film and television industry or the entertainment industry, using scandals to hype up movies, TV series, or albums was a completely normal method, and it often worked every time, always attracting attention. Some celebrities even never got tired of it. Every time a new TV series was about to be released, they would create a scandal. Although the majority of netizens were already tired of watching, every time they saw this kind of gossip, they would always click on it out of habit, take a look and then spit in ridicule. They did not care about being scolded because the publicity effect was achieved and the cost was very low. Many entertainment media were very willing to hype up scandals, even if it was free. The most important thing was that both Lu Qin and Qin Feier had the foundation to hype up. One was a talent and the other was a heavenly queen, and they already had scandals in the past. Now that they were working together in a TV series, it was normal to create a new scandal. And it was the most economical. There was no need to give red packets to the reporters. As long as the news leaked out, there would definitely be a large number of paparazzi coming. If they were willing to spend some advertising fees, it would be a sure thing to make the headlines. In fact, there were a lot of paparazzi at the filming site of Autumn in My Heart. But the premise was that Qin Feier was willing. Among the people present, Qin Feier had the highest status. She had the natural right to speak, so everyone had to listen carefully, and no one could ignore her opinion. As someone close to Qin Feier, the reason why Sister Zhang made such a suggestion was that she knew very well that Qin Feier would not be disgusted by it. The target of the scandal was Lu Qin. In fact, her suggestion was also a leak, and smart people would naturally understand the meaning behind it. Most of the people present were smart people. Qin Feier hesitated for a moment and turned to look at Lu Qin. Just as Sister Zhang thought, Qin Feier was not disgusted by the scandal, and she wanted to listen to Lu Qin's opinion. Under everyone's gaze, Lu Qin shook his head and said, "Don't hype up the scandal." Of course, Lu Qin understood the benefits of hyping up the scandal, but he did not like this kind of hype very much. Qin Feier's eyes flashed with a smile and she asked, "Then do you have any good ideas?" She understood Lu Qin's thoughts. Lu Qin thought for a moment and said, Let's do a promotional activity on the blog. That's it? Everyone looked at each other and they were very disappointed. Using the blog to promote was the most common practice. There were countless activities on the blog, especially the lucky draw. Doing a lucky draw should be attractive, but the effect was very ordinary. Most of the netizens were going for the prize. Luchin continued, "My idea is to do a couple cover show. The song to be covered is the theme song of Autumn in My Heart, Your Eyes. As long as you upload a cover video through your personal blog, you can participate. The prize can be a high bonus, a romantic European double trip, or even a cameo role in Autumn in My Heart." Couple cover show? Chen Feier's eyes suddenly lit up. This idea was really fresh. The bonus prize was secondary. The key was to closely follow the theme of the TV series, which had selling points and connotations. Such an event was neither vulgar nor vulgar, warm and romantic, and would definitely attract a lot of people to participate. Then the publicity effect would be there. And the cost was not high. Even a romantic European double trip would only cost tens of thousands of yuan. Luchin continued, "As for the judges, Sister Feier and I will be the judges. We can also invite Flying Stone Records to participate, which is also a publicity warm-up for Sister Feier's new record." Chen Feier pursed her lips and said with a smile, "I can ask Big Brother Lin to help and let him be a judge." Sister Zhang said with a smile, "Then it will soon become half of Singing China." The Big Brother Lin in Chen Feier's mouth was, of course, Lin Jijia, the music director of Flying Stone Records. She and Lin Jijia were both judges of Singing China, and Lu Chen was the winner of the singing competition. It was really not wrong to say that it was half of Singing China competition. Lu Chen proposed and Chen Feier supported it, and the idea was really good, so it was immediately decided. Chapter 254. Beijing Institute of Foreign Languages, Building C3, Female Dormitory. In Dormitory 305, Tong Tong was leaning against the headboard with a pink laptop on her lap. A music video was playing on the 13-inch HD screen. A beautiful voice came out of the hi-fi sound system and echoed in the room. "I don't want your eyes to see the sadness of the world again. Throw yourself into the wind and rain and depend on each other. Looking into your eyes, there are too many tears. My heart aches for you every step of love." After the song finished playing, Tong Tong subconsciously swiped her fingers and was ready to press the replay button. She wanted to listen to it again. Suddenly, a round head popped out from her upper bunk and said angrily, "Tong, how many more times do you want to listen to it before you're satisfied? My ears are getting calluses." Tong subconsciously closed her laptop and giggled. Okay, I'm not listening to it anymore." The roommate sleeping on top was her classmate and also her best friend. She liked the duet love song called Your Eyes very much and also liked the new music video. Tong was a fan of Chen Feier and Lu Chen. Last night, Chen Feier and Lu Chen forwarded the new blog post of Hygiene Wei's Inspector V at the same time. From December 4th to December 30th, Hygiene Satellite TV held a couple cover show competition on Wave's blog. Any blogger could participate and set up a generous prize. The so-called couple cover show was a cover of the love song Your Eyes by the blogger. As long as the video was uploaded to the designated blog link, the contestant would be able to participate. The grand prize was 50,000 yuan and a 7-day trip to Europe for a couple. The first prize was also 30,000 yuan and a pair of watches. The preliminary selection of the couple cover show was decided by bloggers. The judges for the final selection included Chen Feier, Lu Chen and Lin Jijia. As long as they made it to the final selection, there would be a very attractive prize. In addition, Chen Feier and Lu Chen also released the edited version of the music video of Your Eyes on their respective blogs. The content of the music video was interspersed with the scenes of the two shooting Autumn in My Heart and the video of them singing to each other in the recording studio. Tong had watched this music video 10 times. She really liked this song. In addition to Happy Song, Tong also had a special feeling for this music video, which was not particularly exquisite. She had a feeling that Chen Feier and Lu Chen might really have an unusual relationship, just as many fans had said. When the two people sang to each other, their eye contact was so tacit and natural, especially the emotion contained in Chen Feier's eyes, which made Tong unable to believe that it was a fake performance. If this was considered acting, then Chen Feier could really compete for an Oscar. This discovery made Tong look forward to the premiere of Autumn in My Heart on Hygiene Satellite TV on the 12th. She had read the novel updated by Lu Chen's blog every day. Her best friend said, "Since you like it so much, why don't you also participate in this cover show competition? How about I record it for you?" I guarantee the effect will be top-notch. Tong Tong couldn't help but roll her eyes. This is a couple duet. How can I do it alone? Her best friend laughed. Isn't Senior Chin from the International Trade Department wooing you? Wouldn't he be amused if you asked him for help? Senior brother Chen's singing is also quite good. Last year his solo performance won the third prize. Tong Tong's face immediately turned red. Nonsense. Her best friend laughed. I knew you wouldn't admit it. In fact, Tong Tong, you really chose the wrong major. You can sing so well. It's a waste to study accounting. You should participate in singing competitions just like Mu Xiaochu. She's a big star now. In Beijing Institute of Foreign Languages, Mu Xiaochu of the Department of English Education is a legend. Half a year ago, when she was a freshman, she participated in Beijing Television's first reality show, Singing China. With her pure and moving appearance and sweet and beautiful voice, she went all the way to the final competition, and finally won the top 5 places, and successfully signed a contract with Flying Stone Records. After signing the contract, Mu Xiaochu became a member of MSN Beautiful Girl Group, and released her debut album last month and sold well. MSN has become one of the most popular girl groups at present. Now Mu Xiaochu has officially dropped out of school. It is said that she is busy going on shows every day, running announcements and shooting advertisements. She is famous and beneficial, which makes many girls outside Beijing envious and jealous. Tong Tong is also very envious of this student of the same age in school, and she also knows that Mu Xiaochu and Lu Qin have a very good relationship. The two are like brother and sister. Lu Qin has also written 3 songs for MSN that have been on the original music chart. Many people say that if it weren't for the good relationship between Lu Qin and Mu Xiaochu, he might not be so attentive. But Tong Tong is not jealous of Mu Xiaochu's luck, because she knows that her appearance and voice are not as good as the latter. Singing is just her hobby and can't be regarded as a career in life. However, at this moment, her best friend's suggestion inadvertently touched her feelings. Really want to give it a try? Tong Tong couldn't help but be moved. Then how should we shoot it? They can't just casually get together and sing blindly, take a picture of it on their mobile phone and take it to the competition, can they? Tong Tong is not vain, but she is also a little strong. Since she is singing, she must sing to her best. Her best friend said, let's go to the music classroom. It's fully equipped. I know the counselor in charge. Tong Tong hesitated. That's not good, is it? Her best friend sneered and said, what's not good about it? You listen to me. Even if we can't win the grand prize, we have to win the first prize. Ring ring ring, the phone on the bedside table suddenly rang, which startled Tong Tong. Before she could react, her best friend on the upper bunk hung half of her body, grabbed the guardrail of the bed with her right hand, and picked up the microphone with her left hand at lightning speed. She answered and asked, hello, who are you looking for? Tong Tong has always admired her best friend's ability to grab the phone. Senior brother Chin, are you looking for Tong Tong? Her best friend chatted with the other party and laughed. What are you looking for her for? When Tong Tong heard it was senior brother Chin, she suddenly became a little anxious. She glared and said, give me the phone. Her best friend didn't give it to her. Want to invite Tong Tong to dinner? Is there a share for me? Is that so? She proudly held the phone. Since you are so polite, let me tell you one thing. Do you know? Tong Tong is going to participate in the couple cover show competition of Wave's blog. She lacks a partner. What couple cover show? Go on the blog and have a look. Don't say I didn't give you a chance. After hanging up the phone, her best friend smiled sinisterly and said, hurry up and thank me. Tong Tong instantly became violent, and her hands reached for the other party's waist. Her best friend screamed in fear and quickly shrank back to her bed to avoid the attack from Tong Tong. In the dormitory, the laughter of the two girls echoed, until the phone rang again. In the end, Tong Tong still accepted senior brother Chen's invitation and brought her best friend for lunch. In the afternoon, the three returned to the music classroom. Her best friend pestered the counselor to borrow the key, and then filmed a cover video in the music classroom. The filming process was not easy. Because she was not familiar with the equipment, it took a long time to play the accompaniment music downloaded from the internet. After the preparation was finished, senior brother Chin became nervous again and completely lost his normal level of singing. It was not until the evening, after repeated practice and running in, that the recording was finally successful. After treating the counselor to dinner, Tong Tong left her pitiful senior brother and pulled her best friend back to the dormitory. She could not wait to upload the copy of the cover video for review through the relevant page of Wave's blog. What surprised Tong Tong was that in just one day, there were 1,759 cover videos that had passed the review and were listed on the main page of the couple cover show for everyone to click, comment, and vote on. Out of curiosity, Tong Tong and her best friend sat together on the bed and watched other people's cover videos. Most of these videos were crudely shot with a mobile phone. Many people did not even have the standard of a KTV, but they still dared to sing loudly and bravely, singing a sad song Your Eyes, and making it full of jokes. What made Tong Tong and her best friend laugh the most was that other than the most common male and female duet, there were also male and female groups singing. They did not know how they passed the review. Especially the male and female groups, who sang so affectionately that Tong Tong and her best friend felt like they were blind. Or could a male and female group also be considered a couple? But there were also a few couple singers who showed very high professional standards. Even if they could not be compared to the original version, they had their own highlights and characteristics, which was refreshing to watch. These contestants were undoubtedly recorded with professional equipment, and some were even filmed in a recording studio, showing a high degree of restoration compared to the original version. Today was also the first day of the cover show competition. In the foreseeable future, there would definitely be more and more high-quality works participating. This made Tong Tong and her best friend very depressed, feeling that today's hard work had been wasted. They probably had no hope of winning an award for the things they filmed. Her best friend comforted her, "The most important thing is to participate. As long as we are happy, we don't have to fight with others for the ranking." Tong Tong nodded. She could only comfort herself like that. She decided not to pay attention to this matter anymore and focused on the TV series that was premiering next week. The couple's cover show competition organized by Hygiene TV on the blog Waves had received unexpected enthusiastic feedback since the competition began on the 4th, forming a huge craze. The number of works participating in the competition was shocking. On the first day they received nearly 2,000 works and on the second day, it directly doubled. In just 3 days, it broke 10,000 works and related search terms were very popular on the blog. The biggest beneficiary was the song Your Eyes itself. Its number of views on major music stations and video websites kept rising, and it quickly became a popular song on the internet. Many people called it the most outstanding and touching love song of the year. As for the singers, Chin Fei and Lu Chin, there were rumors again. Chapter 255. Click, click. The sound of a shutter being pressed was heard in the restaurant, accompanied by a dazzling flash of light. A short and strong young man was standing behind the buffet table, holding a black SLR camera with both hands. He bent forward and pressed the shutter desperately with his fingers, completely ignoring the fact that his actions were disturbing the guests. Several waiters nearby were stunned at first, but then they reacted and surrounded him angrily. This Marriott hotel was an international 5-star hotel chain. Because it was adjacent to Jinling Film City, it had become the first choice for many celebrities to stay when they came to film. The hotel's security force was naturally very strong. For example, the suites above could not be sneaked in. However, the restaurant was open to the public, so it was common for paparazzi to sneak in and take photos. To ensure privacy, it was best to eat in a private room. However, the paparazzi subject happened to not go to the private room tonight, so it caused a small disturbance. Before the waiters could stop him, the paparazzi turned around and ran away with the camera. He was agile enough to participate in a sports competition. In the blink of an eye, he disappeared at the door. Seeing this scene, Lu Chin shook his head helplessly. Now he finally truly felt the troubles of being a star. Chin Fei, who was sitting across from Lu Chin, chuckled and said, "It's good that you're used to it. It's your fault for not going to the private room." It was very late when they came back from filming. Lu Chin and Chin Fei had dinner in the hotel restaurant. Considering that it was just to fill their stomachs and there were only 4 people, they randomly found a seat in the hall. They did not expect paparazzi to follow them into the restaurant and brazenly take photos. The photos would probably appear on the entertainment section of a certain website in the evening, and then it would be accompanied by a sensational headline to hype up the scandal between him and Chin Fei. These days, there was a sudden increase in the number of entertainment reporters around the filming site of Autumn in My Heart. The main reason was the popularity of the TV series, especially the couple cover show competition organized by Hygiene TV on the blog Waves, which set off a craze for selfies on the internet. It was said that there were already tens of thousands of entries in the competition. It was truly astounding. Lu Chen's idea was unanimously approved by everyone. Spending 100 yuan to get 1,000 yuan worth of publicity, and the number of fans of Hygiene Satellite TV's official V's blog increased significantly. However, this craze also brought him and Chin Fei a lot of trouble. The public became very interested in the relationship between the two. Tracing back to the source, the last time the two of them had a meal together in Jinling, the paparazzi secretly took photos of them, which caused a huge uproar. Although the rumor was successfully quelled, the root was also buried. Now that the two of them were starring in a TV series together and had even sung the theme song of a love song, it would be strange if others did not suspect something. Sister Zhang, who was sitting at the same table, was very calm. She said, "Don't worry about them. Just make a statement when the time comes." It was a solid fact that Lu Qin and Chin Fei were in a relationship, and it was impossible to hide it. However, it was not a wise choice to make it public now. It was best to let the big side take its course and wait for things to come to fruition in the future. As for the scandal, no matter what others said, the two of them said that they were good friends and friendly siblings. They did not completely deny it, nor did they openly admit it. It would be good to let everyone get used to it. In fact, many couples in the entertainment industry were like this. As long as they were not caught being intimate, using this vague strategy was the best way. This way, the media would have a topic to talk about, and it would not cause some fanatical fans to cause trouble. Moreover, if they broke up in the future and others asked about it, they would just laugh and say, "We were good friends. We weren't in a relationship at all. How could we break up?" It was too common in the entertainment industry to break up. Those who knew how to protect themselves would wear a mask. Those who were not shrewd would not be able to survive in this industry. Even if there were such people, they were all pretending. Therefore, it was not a big deal for the paparazzi to take photos of Lu Qin and Chin Fei having dinner together. The two assistants were there, and it was a simple explanation. However, what Lu Qin was really worried about was not himself, but his family. Although Lu Shi knew about the relationship between the two of them, she did not tell her mother. However, it could not stop the scandal from spreading. Many acquaintances in Binhai asked Fang Yun and even Lu Shui, "Is your family's Lu Qin really in a relationship with Chin Fei?" Yesterday and today, Fang Yun and Lu Shui called him respectively, which made Lu Qin a little disturbed. If he told the truth to a big mouth like Lu Shui, it was guaranteed that it would be spread all over her WeChat moments. "My sister-in-law is Chin Fei." Lu Qin could totally imagine his sister showing off proudly. It was not easy to be in a relationship as a star. After a hurried dinner, Lu Qin returned to the room where he lived. As soon as he made a cup of tea and sat down on the sofa, he heard the door beep and then it was pushed open. Chin Fei flashed in lightly. The business suite that Lu Qin booked was equipped with 2 access cards. He carried one with him, and the other was given to Chin Fei, who lived next door. The reason was obvious. After closing the door, Chin Fei walked to Lu Qin and sat down next to him. She asked softly, "Were you unhappy just now?" Lu Qin couldn't help laughing. "Why would I be?" He reached out and held the beauty in his arms. Smelling the familiar fragrance, he only felt happy and at peace in his heart. It felt so good to have someone by his side. Chin Fei leaned softly in his arms and said, "Why don't we just make our relationship public?" Lu Qin lowered his head and kissed her on the cheek. He said, "Don't worry. Take your time." Lu Qin's attitude towards relationships had always been very serious, especially his and Chin Fei's situation was relatively special, so he couldn't act willfully. If they hurt each other, it would be too late for regrets. In Lu Qin's heart, he hoped that one day his achievements and honor would be enough to match Chin Fei's, so he could propose to her in front of everyone. Perhaps this idea was a little chauvinistic, but it came from his heart. Lu Qin also believes that this day will not be too far away. Chin Fei nodded. She understood the thoughts of the little man she was relying on now. She didn't think there was anything wrong with it. Instead, she was happy. A man without ambition, and ambition wasn't worthy of her true love. Chin Fei raised her head and took the initiative to give a kiss, enjoying the warm time that belonged to the two of them. Their breath was like the fragrance of orchids, and their tongues were entangled like glue. Chin Fei, who couldn't help but kiss passionately, grabbed Lu Qin's strange hand that reached into her dress. She rolled her eyes at him coquettishly, stood up and said, "Let's watch the video of the competition." Lu Qin reluctantly retracted his hand, reminiscing the infinitely wonderful feeling that remained on his fingertips. Looking at the resentment on his face, Chin Fei held back her laughter and comforted him by kissing him again. She stood up and said, "I'll go get the computer." She flew away like a butterfly with a fragrant wind, and then immediately returned. She brought back the laptop that was originally placed in the study. What the two of them watched together was, of course, the video of the couple's cover show competition. So far, the number of participants who uploaded cover videos on Waves's blog had exceeded 50,000. Considering that this was a love song duet, the actual number of participants had undoubtedly reached more than 100,000. This was quite an astonishing number. There were still 5 days before the submission deadline, and the total number would inevitably increase. Although there was the temptation of generous prizes, the enthusiasm of the general public couldn't be erased. With so many videos, Lu Qin and Qin Fei definitely couldn't watch all of them. The two of them were actually watching relatively outstanding and unique works selected by Hygiene Satellite TV. The number of these works accounted for less than 1%. Although the preliminary selection was based on the blog voting system, the organizer also had the right to recommend works. And among these carefully selected works, many of them made Lu Qin and Qin Fei admire. The two sat on the sofa and snuggled up to each other, watching couples singing their love songs on the computer screen. This feeling was really wonderful and hard to describe in words. If it had to be described, it might be warm, beautiful, happy, sweet. It was warm, beautiful, blissful, sweet. Time always flew by so quickly. In a blink of an eye, it was December 12th. At 8:30 p.m., the urban romance drama Love in My Heart, created and starring Lu Qin and starring Qin Fei as the female lead, premiered on Hygiene Satellite TV. At the same time, the premiere was also on QQ Video Network. Domestic video websites emerged with the popularization of high-speed networks, and the speed of development was extremely rapid. Large-scale video websites such as Youshare Video, Tomato Video, QQ Video and so on emerged. The registered members were often in the tens of millions, and the paid members had initially formed a scale. Unlike movies, the premiere of TV dramas basically included two parts: TV stations and the internet. In other words, the money that could be sold on both sides at the same time was nothing more than the price. The TV series Love in My Heart was approached by Youshare Video, Tomato Video and QQ Video, but the first two were not very interested and offered a low price, so it was eventually won by the rich QQ Video. At present, among the domestic video websites, Youshare Video was the well-deserved leader, occupying the largest market share. However, QQ Video, with the advantage of its backstage, launched fierce competition with Youshare Video, and had a great tendency to catch up. The money paid to buy Love in My Heart was not much for them. Similarly, QQ Video did not focus on promoting the show. It only advertised the trailer on its homepage for 3 days, and vigorously promoted its own self-produced drama Sweet President. I don't know if it was a coincidence, but the first episode of the second season of Urban Love, which once rejected Lu Qin, was broadcast on Beijing Film and Television Channel on the same day and at the same time. Chapter 256. Binhai City, Jingsheng District. It was already 8 o'clock in the evening, and a bright moon was hanging high in the night sky. The bright moonlight and the lights of thousands of families in the world reflected each other. A cool breeze was blowing, and the artificial lake in the district was sparkling. It was a quiet and serene scene. The door of the Lu's villa opened, and Fang Yun saw the two guests out. She said to a chubby middle-aged woman, "Sister Wang, take care. Be careful on the road." "Okay, Yun, you don't have to see us off. We'll go back by ourselves." The middle-aged woman had a rich face, and her eyes narrowed into two slits with a smile. She quietly nudged the middle-aged man in a suit beside her with her elbow. The middle-aged man was in his 40s, with thick eyebrows, big eyes and a square face. His obviously dyed hair was neatly combed, and there was some hair oil on it. Under the light it seemed to be waxed. He stared at Fang Yun, and an imperceptible heat flashed in his eyes. Fang Yun was a well-known beauty when she was young. She gave birth to Lu Shi, Lu Shui and Lu Chen with Father Lu. Each of them was more outstanding than the other, and their genes were naturally excellent. Although Fang Yun had aged a lot because of the family changes in the past 2 years, she no longer worked day and night since Lu Chen paid off the heavy debt of the family and redeemed the family villa. Her spirit and appearance had returned to their original level, and she had an outstanding temperament. Especially now, she was standing at the door and smiling, which had a special charm. The square-faced man was unconsciously attracted, and he only reacted after being reminded by Sister Wang. He quickly said, "Miss Fang, I'm really sorry to bother you tonight. I want to treat you to dinner tomorrow night." "No need." Before he could finish his words, he was directly interrupted by Fang Yun. "Thank you for your kindness, but I have to supervise my daughter's homework at night, so I'm sorry." Although she said sorry, there was no apology on Fang Yun's face, and even a little cold and indifferent. The square-faced man was given the cold shoulder and couldn't help but look embarrassed. Big Sister Wang saw that the situation was not good and wanted to say a few words to smooth things over. However, Fang Yun didn't give her a chance to speak at all. She turned around and walked back into the living room, closing the door on her way out. The two people outside the door could only leave resentfully. Fang Yun sat on the sofa and sighed faintly. She couldn't help but touch the space between her eyebrows. Sister Wang was a colleague from her unit. She usually liked to matchmake people. Square-faced was her distant cousin, the deputy mayor of a town under Binhai City. Sister Wang wanted to introduce her cousin, who was said to have divorced a few years ago, to Fang Yun. After being declined by Fang Yun, she came directly to the door so that Fang Yun had to pretend to be polite. They were all colleagues in the same unit and they saw each other all the time. Fang Yun could not give him face. However, since the other party wanted to take the opportunity to get close to her, she had nothing to worry about and directly rejected him. Otherwise, if he were to be entangled by it, it would definitely be troublesome. Moreover, Sister Wang hadn't been so enthusiastic before. Now she was eagerly coming over. Who knew what she was thinking? Since Lu Qingxing's death, even in the most difficult times, she had never thought of looking for someone to rely on. It was enough for her to have 3 obedient and sensible children. Now life was getting better and better. Lu Qin and Lu Shi were both promising, so Fang Yun had no more ideas. She didn't want to get married again, not at all. In 2 years Lu Shui would go to college. She had to think about Lu Shi and Lu Chen's marriage, and she had to take care of the children in the future. Fang Yun was very satisfied with such a life. It was just that Lu Chen was now a star. It was said that stars would get married very late, otherwise it would affect their careers. As for having children, she really didn't know when it would be. And Lu Shi was helping her brother manage the studio in the capital. She was so busy that she could only talk for a few minutes on the phone. How could she find a suitable boyfriend like this? The more Fang Yun thought about it, the more she felt that she had endless worries. Mom? While Fang Yun was lost in thought, Lu Shui ran down the stairs. She stood on the stairs and looked into the living room. When she saw that only Fang Yun was there, she immediately breathed a big sigh of relief. Have the 2 annoying guys left? Fang Yun said, don't be impolite. Is your little butt itchy again? Lu Shui ran down and sat next to her. She held her mother's arm with a mischievous smile and said, it was very annoying, especially that man. He was so disgusting that I didn't even have enough to eat. She pretended to be innocent, which was really hard to criticize. Fang Yun shook her head helplessly. Sister Wang's cousin couldn't be said to be bad, but Fang Yun didn't like the look in his eyes. She didn't want to mention that person again. She said, don't you want to watch TV? Go and turn it on yourself. Yes. Lu Shui jumped 3 feet high. It's about to start. At 8:30 that evening, the TV series, Autumn in My Heart, created and starred by Lu Qin, would premiere on Hygiene Satellite TV. She must watch it as soon as possible to support her brother. Ding dong, as soon as she finished speaking, the doorbell of the villa suddenly rang. Lu Shui and Fang Yun couldn't help but look at each other. Could it be that the 2 people just now were back? That would be too disappointing. Xiao Xue, a clear call came from outside the door. It's Xiao Yu. Lu Shui recognized the visitor's voice. She was overjoyed and hurried to open the door. When the door opened, Lu Shui was immediately surrounded by 3 young girls. Xiao Yu, Xiao Feng, Wenwen. Why are you here? These 3 girls were all Lu Shui's friends. 3 of them were her junior high school classmates, and 1 was her senior high school classmate. All 3 of them lived in the Jingsheng district and had a very close relationship in the past. Later, Lu Shui moved with Fang Yun to the local tax bureau's dormitory. They didn't have much contact with each other, but their friendship was still there. Now that they had moved back and lived in the same district, it was inevitable that they would often visit each other. A girl with a ponytail smiled and said, we're here to accompany you to watch your brother's TV series. And your TV is so big it's very comfortable to watch. By the way, is your brother still filming in Jinling? When the original villa was redecorated, considering that Fang Yun loved to watch TV series, Lu Qin simply bought a new home theater set and placed it in the living room. The LCD TV was a 4K ultra-high-definition 70-inch LCD TV. Lu Shui said with a smile, Ma Xiaofeng, to be honest, you care so much about my brother. Do you want to be my sister-in-law? Then you have to bribe me first. Among her friends, Ma Xiaofeng was the most concerned about Lu Chen's situation. She often pulled her aside and asked all sorts of questions. The girl with the ponytail was embarrassed. Of course not. The other girl beside her smiled and said, that must be it. She was the one who dragged us here. You're still talking. The girl with the ponytail was so embarrassed that she tickled the other girl, and the girls immediately laughed. This added endless vitality to the big villa. Seeing that the girls were too crazy, Fang Yun couldn't help but say, "Xiao Xue, hurry up and let Xiao Yu and the others in." Lu Shui, who was grabbing Ma Xiaofang, stuck out her tongue. "Come in quickly, it's about to start." Only then did the three girls realize that Fang Yun was sitting on the sofa. They were very embarrassed and blushed. They quickly said, "Hello, Auntie." "Hello." Fang Yun smiled and stood up. "Everyone come and sit down. I'll get you some snacks." "No need to trouble Auntie." "Thank you, Auntie." "Mom, I'll do it." The girls chattered and sat down on the sofa one after another. Lu Shui went to turn on the power of the television. After the TV was turned on, she took the remote control and adjusted the channel to Hygiene Satellite TV station. A high-definition picture appeared in an instant, and an advertisement was playing. After the advertisement, the first episode of Autumn in My Heart was officially broadcast. Lu Shui hurriedly shouted, "Mom, you're coming? The TV is starting." Her three friends were already sitting side by side with 6 eyes fixed firmly on the screen. "It's starting." Sitting in front of the TV to watch the premiere episode of Autumn in My Heart were not only Lu Shui and her friends, but also thousands of fans of Lu Qin and Qin Fei, as well as the audience attracted by the advertising. Because of copyright issues, Autumn in My Heart could not be broadcast live on Whale TV, so a large number of Lu Jejun fans flocked to QQ Video to watch the premiere of the TV series. QQ Video has the function of sending barrage, so fans can also interact and comment here. The number of online viewers of Autumn in My Heart continued to rise. But 30 minutes ago at 8 o'clock, QQ Video Network self-produced drama Sweetheart President premiered before Autumn in My Heart, and a competitive collision between the two sides was formed. Sweetheart President is a year-end drama of QQ Video Network, with a total investment of up to 50 million yuan. Many well-known domestic actors joined, and a large number of young idols starred. QQ Video Network has high hopes for this self-produced drama, and its publicity offensive was launched 2 months ago. Originally, the premiere of the two TV series should not be on the same day. Although Autumn in My Heart was a foreign drama, QQ Video also spent a lot of money to buy the premiere rights. However, the premiere day of Sweetheart President has long been determined, and Autumn in My Heart has signed a contract with Hygiene Satellite TV. The time cannot be changed and the former can't give way to the latter, so it happened on the same day. Due to the vigorous publicity campaign coupled with a strong cast, and Sweetheart President was adapted from a popular online novel, it showed a trend of popularity as soon as it was broadcasted. In contrast, Autumn in My Heart, which mainly relied on the power of fans, was undoubtedly dwarfed. Chapter 257. Dongzhou Department Store, Huangpu District, Shanghai. Dongzhou Department Store was a very famous shopping mall in Shanghai. It was located in the prime area of the city center, only a few hundred meters away from the Huangpu River. It was one of the favorite places for many Shanghai citizens to visit. Especially on weekend nights, the mall was particularly lively. Men and women with big and small bags came and went between the stores, swiping their credit cards to contribute to GDP. Even at 7 or 8 o'clock, the entrances of the restaurants on the 4th and 5th floors were still full of customers waiting for seats. In the central atrium of the mall, the performance stage was crowded around, and dozens of mall security guards were sweating profusely to maintain order, as if they were facing a formidable enemy. In the evening, the crew of Sweetheart President held a promotional event. The male and female protagonists, the director, and the original author of the novel all appeared and interacted intimately with enthusiastic fans. Sweetheart President was part of QQ Video's plan to create a big IP. This self-made drama started shooting 2 months ago and gathered many domestic film and television stars. Among them, Tao Xiqing, who played the male protagonist, and Jing Yao, the female protagonist, were both quasi-list artists. At present they were popular and had many fans. Sweetheart President was filmed in Shanghai, and Dongzhou Department Store was one of the sponsors. Many of the scenes in the drama were shot here. The evening promotional event was also part of the sponsorship contract. Amidst the cheers and shouts of fans, Tao Xiqing and Jing Yao, who had just sung a love song together, walked off the stage and prepared to go to the temporary backstage to rest for a while. At this time, a reporter with a nameplate on his chest, together with a cameraman holding a camera, came over and blocked the way of the two, and extended the microphone at the same time. The logo plate fixed on the microphone showed that this was a reporter from EasyNet Entertainment. Immediately afterward, 2 other media reporters came over and took a ride to get some entertainment news. Seeing such a scene, the two stopped at the same time and showed professional smiles. Such a promotional event was bound to involve reporters, and the organizers also paid money and gave red packets. Regardless of whether they were tired or not, it was their obligation to cooperate with the interview. The reporter from EasyNet first asked a few irrelevant questions, and suddenly asked Tao Xiqing, the TV series Sweetheart President, premiered on QQ Video tonight. As the male protagonist, what expectations do you have for the number of views? The TV series Sweetheart Big President belongs to a network drama, which is only broadcasted on QQ Video. The most important standard to measure the performance is the number of views, which is equivalent to the ratings of TV stations. Compared to the authoritative ratings survey, the integrity of video websites in terms of the number of views was really much worse, especially for this kind of self-produced drama. It was very easy to casually create a large number. However, the integrity of big video websites such as Ushur and QQ is higher than that of competitors of small and medium-sized websites. Of course, the number of views was not the only metric. In response to the reporter's question, Tao Xiqing casually replied, "I believe that this TV series will achieve very good results. I'm very confident in its quality. I believe that the audience will definitely like it." This kind of routine Q&A obviously can't meet the reporter's needs. He asked again, "As far as I know, there is a TV series, Autumn in My Heart, that will premiere on QQ Video tonight. What do you think of this competitor?" This kind of question had a hidden trap. If he didn't answer well, it would be easy for the media to make a big deal out of it. If entertainment news wanted to attract people's attention, it had to be explosive. Reporters love to bicker with each other, but Tao Xiqing was not a newcomer. How could he step into this kind of trap? He glanced at the reporter quietly and said, "Autumn in My Heart is a very good work. This TV series premieres on the same day as Sweetheart President, which is a spur and motivation for us. I also wish Autumn in My Heart a success here." Tao Xiqing's answer could be said to be watertight. In fact, he hadn't even seen the trailer of Autumn in My Heart. He only knew that there was such a drama, which was starred by the singer Heavenly Queen Qin Fei, that was all. But this didn't prevent Tao Xiqing from pretending to know it very well. He didn't flatter or belittle it, which made him look very sophisticated. The EasyNet reporter saw that he couldn't get anything out of his mouth, so he turned to Jing Yao with the microphone in his hand. "Then Miss Jing Yao, what do you think of Autumn in My Heart?" Jing Yao smiled. Her smile looked a little cold and said, "I don't think Autumn in My Heart will be our opponent. There is no comparison between the two dramas." Tao Xiqing turned to look at Jing Yao in surprise. "Did you take the wrong medicine? Or are you deliberately hyping up the topic?" Jing Yao was not a newcomer, so she had a sense of propriety in her words and actions. Her answer was obviously over the top. The reporter immediately became excited and quickly asked, "What do you mean there is no comparison?" Jing Yao ignored Tao Xiqing's hint and said bluntly, "There is no comparison in all aspects. Whether it is the story, the investment or the cast, Sweetheart President is much better." The reporter caught the problem. "Autumn in My Heart is Qin Fei's leading role." Jing Yao said lightly, "She sings very well." After that, the female lead turned around and left, not giving the EasyNet reporter a chance to continue asking questions. But the EasyNet reporter was already satisfied and couldn't wait to go back to prepare the manuscript. This would definitely be an excellent topic to talk about. At 12 o'clock that night, the EasyNet Entertainment channel published relevant news content. The title was quite sensational. "Jing Yao bombards Qin Fei, she sings very well." The entertainment reporter vividly described the process of the interview with Jing Yao, and it was Jing Yao's last answer that stuck to the main theme. He pointed out that Jing Yao bombarded Qin Fei, or only knew how to sing and didn't know how to act, so the latter's Autumn in My Heart could not be compared with Sweetheart President at all. Strictly speaking, the entertainment reporter did not mean to distort Jing Yao. Jing Yao's attitude in the interview was very obvious. In addition to EasyNet Entertainment, two other media also released news later, focusing on the competition between the two TV series, describing the two as mortal enemies and irresponsibly speculating. So the storm was suddenly set off. In terms of status in the circle, Jing Yao was a bit far away from Qin Fei, but in the film and television industry, the situation was a bit different. Jing Yao was a professional actress and had appeared in many films and TV series. And Qin Fei had only made a cameo appearance in a few movies, which belonged to a playful nature. Jing Yao used her acting skills to ridicule Qin Fei, but it really couldn't be said that she was talking irresponsibly. She was a professional. The key was that last night, Sweetheart President and Autumn in My Heart premiered on QQ Video at the same time. The former had more than 7 million views, while the latter only had 1.4 million. The gap was really a bit big. Jing Yao, as the heroine, appeared in the first episode, while Chen Fei had to wait until next Saturday to appear in the play, which happened to be a time difference. Lu Chen didn't see the news until noon the next day. At this time on the Waves blog, the gossip about Jing Yao bombarding Chen Fei has been spread widely. In Jing Yao's blog, countless Chen Fei fans scolded her to pieces, and many Jing Yao fans went to Chen Fei's blog to ridicule her. The two sides were in full swing. How could this be? Lu Chen was very puzzled. He couldn't help but ask Chen Fei, who was sitting opposite him, "Do you have a grudge against her?" Both of them were on the set. It was now the lunch break time. It was only when Li Feiyu brought him his mobile phone to show him the entertainment news that he found out, so he was full of questions and puzzlement. It should be known that unless they wanted to deliberately hype up, if there was no hatred, any star artist with a little bit of status would not easily quarrel with each other, and let others see a joke for no reason. Of course, Chen Fei knew about this a long time ago, but he didn't tell Lu Chen. Now that Lu Chen asked, she smiled faintly and said, "It was probably once before. Someone originally asked her to play a role, but then they found me. I didn't know at the time. I couldn't save face, so I acted. I didn't know that there was such a thing until later. It turned out to be like this." Lu Chen suddenly understood. He couldn't help but ask, "What if you had known at the time?" Chen Fei said proudly, "I was giving face to my friend, and it had nothing to do with her. She likes to think too much of herself, but that's her own business." Lu Chen smiled and gave her a thumbs up. "Sister Fei is awesome." Chen Fei patted Lu Chen's hand and said coquettishly, "You're so annoying." Lu Chen chuckled and asked, "Then should I write a blog post to fight back against her?" He was very disgusted with this kind of person who made trouble out of nothing. He wanted to slap her back. Chen Fei shook her head and said, "There's no need. I asked Sister Zhang to temporarily refuse all interviews. Let the truth speak for itself. It's useless to say anything without results." Lu Chen nodded. He knew that Chen Fei didn't want to argue with Jing Yao. The two of them were in different positions. If they took it seriously, it would only make the other party proud. As long as the results of Autumn in My Heart were outstanding, Jing Yao's bombardment would naturally become a joke. And Chen Fei was the same as him. They both had to appear in the second half of the third episode, which would be aired next Saturday night. Therefore it would only make them look lowly if they were to be noisy now. The Chen. At this time Li Feiyu rushed over. He said excitedly, "The national ratings of Autumn in My Heart are out." Lu Chen suddenly became spirited and asked, "How much?" Chen Fei was also very concerned. Li Feiyu smiled and said, 22%. 22%? The ratings were quite high. It was a perfect start for a TV series. Lu Chen couldn't help but let out a long sigh. The previous depression was instantly gone. Chapter 258. After entering the new century, the domestic film and television industry has developed extremely rapidly, forming a large-scale industry. By 2014, the output of domestic TV series, including co-produced ones, had exceeded 20,000 episodes, ranking first in the world. The fierce competition in the market was unimaginable to ordinary people. Whether it was self-produced or purchased TV series, TV stations recovered their costs and realized profits through advertisements at the beginning and end and in the middle. Ratings were the most important standard to reflect the value of advertising, and ratings survey naturally became an indispensable process. In the past, when the efficiency of TV advertising doubled, there were as many as a dozen domestic TV program rating survey agencies. Because there was no fixed standard, coupled with the endless emergence of black box operations and insider trading, it presented a chaotic and disorderly situation. Some agencies didn't even have any qualifications, but they dared to make ratings rankings. The chaos in the market forced the state to intervene. The State Administration of Radio, Film and Television took the lead in joining hands with relevant departments to establish New Video Distance Company, which relied on its own powerful platform advantage to be responsible for the rating survey of TV programs. At present, New Video Distance Company was the only state-owned third-party survey agency. Its survey data was the guiding indicator of the domestic TV media industry, and its authority and authenticity were beyond doubt. Autumn in My Heart premiered on Hygiene Satellite TV and QQ Video Network at the same time. The number of views of the first episode on QQ Video was 1.4 million plus, which was far behind the 7 million plus of QQ's self-produced drama Sweetheart President. But compared with such data, its influence in the industry was actually very small. The reason was very simple. This platform was QQ Video's own. As long as it was willing, not to mention 7 million, even 70 million views could be easily done. Even if the big platform's integrity was relatively high, it was normal to add some data to itself. If a low-cost imported drama overran a high-investment self-produced drama, it would really become a joke. Therefore, the data of the number of views could be seen, but it couldn't be completely taken seriously. Whether it was Chin Fei, or Lu Chin, including Chinda Brothers Pictures, they wouldn't take it seriously. The webcast copyright had been sold, and the number of views had nothing to do with the income of the three parties. QQ Video and Chinda Pictures did not sign a VM agreement. Even if it broke 100 million on the first day, it wouldn't earn more money. If it had to be said, the level of the results had an impact on the next new series. But the ratings rankings released by New Video Distance Company were completely different. The level of the ratings had a great impact on the interests of everyone. 22%. Ever since Lu Chin decided to step into the film and television industry and used Autumn in My Heart as the cornerstone, he had a deep understanding of the significance of the TV ratings and had looked up a lot of information. Generally speaking, for a new drama without a big star joining or a huge amount of money to hype it up, it would be considered a success if the premiere episode's viewership ratings could reach 1%, and it would have the capital to continue to survive. Chen Fei was the only big star in the TV series Autumn in My Heart. She really saved a lot of money for Autumn in My Heart. However, Chen Fei was, after all, a heavenly queen of the music industry, not a best actress. She was extremely popular on the internet, and her appeal on traditional television screens was undoubtedly inferior. Therefore, whether it was Beijing Television Station or Zhejiang Television Station, the price offered for Autumn in My Heart was not high. It was lucky for a newcomer's new drama to be able to be broadcast on a big station. How much more did they want? Even Hygiene TV, which was later negotiated, gave a low price for the single collection, but they added a VM agreement. And in this agreement, the starting point of the reward was an average domestic viewership rating of 25%. To put it bluntly, Hygiene TV also did not think that Autumn in My Heart could meet such a requirement. Not only Hygiene TV, but Chinda Pictures also had an internal estimate of the viewership ratings of Autumn in My Heart. The premiere episode was 15% minus 18%, and the average domestic total viewership ratings of all 20 episodes were 18% minus 20%. The viewership ratings of the first episode that had just been released were really beyond most people's expectations. According to the latest data released by New Video Company, Autumn in My Heart relied on a 22% viewership rating to rank 6th among the same type of TV series, and 11th among all the domestic TV series that were broadcast on the same day. It was quite eye-catching. Lu Chin was naturally very happy and felt a little overjoyed. To be honest, he had been under a lot of pressure recently. Lu Chin had put a lot of effort into the birth of this TV series, and it was also an important support for him to enter the film and television industry. If he got off to a bad start, then the blow would undoubtedly be very heavy. Lu Chin was not afraid of setbacks. He was young enough and had the capital, but he did not want to be seen as a joke. Unfortunately, this was the viewership ratings of the first episode, and Chen Fei had to appear in the third episode. Otherwise, it could be used to slap Jing Yao in the face. What was the number of views? Compare the viewership ratings before you show off. In the industry's criteria for judging the status of artists, the movie box office and TV ratings were important indicators. What the hell was the number of views? When Chen Fei saw him beaming with joy, he couldn't help but pour cold water on him. Don't be happy too early. Let's talk about it next week. The early publicity cost of Autumn in My Heart was not very much, and the effect was still very good. In particular, Hygiene Satellite TV's Brother Love cover show event on the blog was vigorous and attracted a lot of attention. Therefore, it was not surprising that the first and second episodes had good ratings. The audience's curiosity had been aroused. Whether the show was wonderful or not, they would definitely have the idea of watching it. After these 2 episodes, the third and fourth episodes would continue to be broadcast next week to reflect the real ratings. Lu Chin understood this and nodded. The next day, on the evening of December 13th, the second episode of Autumn in My Heart was broadcast on Hygiene Satellite TV. It was broadcast simultaneously on QQ Video Network. At noon on the 14th, the ranking on the home page of New Video Company's official website was refreshed again. Autumn in My Heart suddenly jumped to third place in the same type of TV series with a rating of 0.26%. As of 12 o'clock that day, the total number of views on QQ Video Network was more than 8 million. Although it was still big behind the 20 million plus views of Sweetheart President. In fact, the gap between the two has shortened a lot. This result also made many people surprised, shocked, jealous, and even unbelievable. Beijing New Era Art Park. In an office in the film and television production department of Baolong Pictures, deputy manager Zhu Mingyi looked at the computer screen. His face was cloudy and uncertain. Autumn in My Heart, 0.26%/0. 24%/003/009. A row of red data stung his eyes. This was the ratings data of Autumn in My Heart in New Video Network. The first place was the latest ratings, the second was the average ratings, the third was the ranking of the same type, and the fourth was the ranking of domestic dramas. In layman's terms, the ratings of this TV series were very good. But Zhu Mingyi's mood was terrible. Zhu Mingyi still remembered clearly how Lu Qin came to him with the script at that time and how he refused. Refusing a script was normal work for Zhu Mingyi. Lu Qin's requirements were too high, and he refused righteously. No one could say that he did something wrong. Lu Qin provided the script, asked to participate in the investment and play the leading actor, and also designated the leading actress and director. No one could agree to this. But Zhu Mingyi didn't expect that the leading actress designated by Lu Qin was actually Qin Fei. This inevitably made him a little passive. At that time he refused Lu Qin without leaving any leeway. Otherwise, as long as he communicated more, the situation might be different. Maybe this TV series would be taken over by Baolong Pictures. What Zhu Mingyi could comfort himself was that even if the leading actress was Qin Fei, this kind of urban sadomasochistic film would not have much market. The ratings could not be guaranteed and there was a huge risk in investment. That's what he said to his colleagues. This matter was quickly left behind by Zhu Mingyi. However, Autumn in My Heart stubbornly jumped into his sight, one of the hot topics on Wave's blog, the theme song of the recently popular Your Eyes, and the cover show competition. Zhu Mingyi couldn't ignore it even if he wanted to. So, in a trace of suffering, he began to pay attention to the ratings of the TV series. The first episode was 0.22%, and the second episode was 0.26%. Such results made Zhu Mingyi very speechless, and he felt that his face was a little hot. Although he didn't want to admit it, his professional experience told him that Autumn in My Heart was very likely to be popular. The mystery lay in the 0.4% increase in the second episode compared to the first episode. Don't underestimate the increase of 4%. The significance it represented was that the TV series had successfully retained a large part of the audience and made them willing to continue to watch it. This was a precursor to a hit. Otherwise, as a pure news show, it was a common phenomenon for the ratings of the second episode to fall. What made Zhu Mingyi's heart palpitate the most was that in the first and second episodes of Autumn in My Heart, the real male and female protagonists have not yet appeared. As the biggest selling point of the show, the singing queen Qin Fei will appear in the third episode. He knew very well that if there were no accidents, the ratings of the third episode of Autumn in My Heart would increase. Maybe it would directly break 0.3%. Thinking of this, Zhu Mingyi couldn't help feeling irritated. He pulled the tie around his neck and controlled the mouse to close the page of the new video range. Out of sight, out of mind. But only a few minutes later, Zhu Mingyi reopened the browser. This time he didn't log on to the official website of the new video range, but entered the URL of QQ Video. Zhu Mingyi knew that Autumn in My Heart was also broadcast on QQ Video, so he wanted to see what the audience's evaluation of Autumn in My Heart was, and then predict the future ratings trend of the TV series. At this moment, Zhu Mingyi forgot one thing. That was, from the moment he refused Lu Qin, the TV series had nothing to do with him. He didn't really need to care so much. It could only be said that he was possessed. Chapter 259. In December, there were no popular TV series premieres in the country. But next month and during the Spring Festival, the situation would be completely different. Several major productions that were in the midst of pre-promotion would participate in the fierce competition for viewership ratings, and the market would become extremely cruel. Therefore, for many small and medium-sized TV series, December was a rare free period. There were many new TV series premiering at the same time, including some weekend TV series. Autumn in My Heart was a new drama with a lower-than-average investment. The first and second episodes had achieved 0.22% and 0.26% of the domestic ratings respectively. This was undoubtedly a dark horse. As for whether it could withstand the attack of the popular TV series that would be broadcast in January, that was still unknown. In terms of online demand, Autumn in My Heart faces an even stronger opponent. QQ Video's homemade drama Sweetheart President has crushed the former in the number of views. However, those who paid attention would find that, apart from the number of views, Autumn in My Heart might not lose to Honey CEO. That was the audience's comments for the two dramas. As of the 15th, Sweetheart Big President had more than 27 million views on QQ Video with a rating of 6.4 and more than 120,000 comments. And Autumn in My Heart had more than 11 million views, a rating of 8.9 and more than 110,000 comments. In other words, the number of views of Autumn in My Heart was less than half of that of Sweetheart CEO. The difference in the number of comments was very small, and the rating of Autumn in My Heart exceeded the latter by 2.5 points. Although the ratings were not directly proportional to the number of views, many popular dramas did not have high ratings, and on the contrary, some of the high-rated dramas failed miserably. Combined with the number of comments and content, one could see the mystery behind it. In the comment area of Sweetheart President, the content of ridicule accounted for the majority. Another boring IP drama. The scriptwriter doesn't care about plot logic at all. The story is a complete mess. Tao Xiqing's acting is not bad. He's really handsome. Jing Yao looks a little too old. Did Jing Yao's face get an injection? Why are you putting on a fake smile? My girlfriend forced me to watch this movie. I'm really sick of watching it. I can't even stand one episode. Please let me go. I haven't read the novel, but the plot is too familiar. It's the domineering CEO Mary Sue again. To be reasonable, these handsome men and beautiful women are still very pleasing to the eye, okay? This is an urban fashion drama. It's enough to just watch the beauties change their clothes. Nothing else matters, ha. I like Tao Xiqing too. In comparison, the audience comments for Autumn in My Heart had very little negative content. Some of them weren't complaining about the storyline. It's very beautiful. It's a very interesting TV series. The first episode managed to attract me. And she is so pitiful. If she hadn't been wrongly chosen, her fate might have been different. If I were Yoon and she, I might commit suicide. I heard this is a sadistic drama? I don't want to see tragedies. I don't like tragedies. Little Yin Juanxi is really handsome. Chui Xinai is a scheming B*TCH. She looks very heartless. Actually, she's also very pitiful. Living in a family like that has a huge psychological impact. May I ask, when will Lu Qin show up? Lu Qin and Qin Feier should appear in the third episode. I've seen Lu Qin's updated novel on his blog. Looking forward to the third episode. In terms of investment and cast, Sweetheart CEO could definitely beat Autumn in My Heart. The former was estimated to shoot 40 episodes, gathered many famous domestic actors, and the script was adapted from a popular online novel. However, a large investment and a large number of stars did not necessarily mean that it would be successful. The best example was a domestic blockbuster. Many big productions with strong cast and large investment ended up going nowhere. They couldn't even recover the cost even after selling all the advertisements. The same situation existed in TV series. It was very difficult to accurately grasp the taste of the audience. Sweetheart CEO took a purely commercial route and tried to please the young audience in all aspects. Unlike the popular youth idol dramas, Autumn in My Heart was not so beautiful at the beginning, and it hinted at the tragedy that would follow. But it still received the recognition and love of many audiences. On December 19th, under the expectations of many fans, the third episode of Autumn in My Heart was broadcast on time. On December 20th, the fourth episode was broadcast. Choi Shinai was jealous of Eun-hee, so she decreed that Eun-hee would live a miserable life. Eun-hee knew that she had to go back to her biological mother, so she had to bear the pain and watch her favorite adoptive parents and brother immigrate to the United States. As time passed, Eun-hee and Choi Shinai returned to their birthplace after finishing their studies. At this time, Eun-hee was working as a receptionist in a hotel. Because Eun-hee was going to get engaged, he wanted to find his sister, Eun-hee, who had always made him worry. However, he always returned disappointed. On the other hand, because he was an illegitimate child, Han Tae-suk, a good friend of Eun-hee's, was arranged by his father to live in a hotel under his name. During this period he met Eun-hee, and because of this Yoon-hee also had the opportunity to meet Eun-hee again. The third and fourth episodes of Autumn in My Heart were two episodes that connected the previous and the following. The hero and heroine and the most important supporting roles in the drama all appeared, and the plot really began to be exciting. 31% and 35% were the domestic ratings of these two episodes. Therefore, Autumn in My Heart jumped to the top of the ratings of the same type of TV series at the same time, showing its dark horse temperament. This inevitably caused a considerable sensation in the industry, causing many film and television production companies and entertainment economic companies to focus their attention on this TV series. The 22% and 26% ratings of the first and second episodes of Autumn in My Heart were a little surprising. Then these two episodes really made people's jaws drop. Many people didn't understand and some were reflecting. Whether it was the novel of the same name updated by Lu Chin on his blog, or the trailer and theme song released previously, it was clear that this TV series was not a happy youth idol drama. Then why did so many audiences like to watch it? This kind of ratings was still a distance away from being a big hit, but the speed of the increase was so fast that it completely reached the standard of being a big hit. Did the audience's taste suddenly change? After watching the contents of the 4 episodes, some people in the industry posted a discussion blog post on the blog, analyzing from many aspects, focusing on the advantages of the current Autumn in My Heart. First of all, the story was very novel and special, and it didn't follow the trend, which made it unique in the same genre. Secondly, the director and screenwriter were serious and attentive. There were no obvious loopholes in the plot, and the characters were not exaggerated or pretentious. The whole story was told slowly and it slowly reached the climax, which was very attractive. The family, friendship and love reflected in the show were implicit and full of tension, showing the director's profound skills. Moreover, the performances of the main actors were remarkable. The biggest highlight belonged to Lu Chin, who was acting in a TV series for the first time. His role as Eun Juin-shi was not only handsome, but also perfectly played that kind of melancholy and calm temperament. It was hard to believe that Lu Chin had never acted in a real movie or TV series before, and he wasn't an acting major. In addition, Chin Fei-er, who was also acting in a TV series for the first time, played the pure and gentle Eun-hee. Although his acting skills were still a little lacking, he still left a very deep impression. Therefore, combining all the advantages, this industry person asserted that the ratings of Autumn in My Heart would further increase, and the real test would be next month. The last month of 2015 was destined to belong to Autumn in My Heart. The popularity of Autumn in My Heart was also reflected in QQ Video. With the appearance of Lu Chin and Chin Fei-er, the number of views of the third and fourth episodes increased significantly, infinitely approaching Sweetheart President. In particular, the number of views of the fourth episode reached more than 10 million, only a few 100,000 less than Sweetheart President. The rating of Autumn in My Heart did not fall because of the increase in the number of viewers, but increased to 9.1 points, and the number of comments exceeded 500,000. The rating of Sweetheart President dropped again, and the number of comments was left behind by Autumn in My Heart. This made QQ Video very embarrassed. The self-produced drama they pushed was actually going to lose to a low-cost imported drama in their own territory. Although there was not much difference between the traffic and advertising benefits, it was still embarrassing. They couldn't hang their face. So, on the second day after the latest episode of Sweetheart President was broadcast, careful netizens found that the total number of views of the online drama soared, widening the distance between it and Autumn in My Heart again. And QQ Video promoted Sweetheart President more extensively on its homepage. It was just that these actions could not stop the upward momentum of Autumn in My Heart. On December 26th and 27th, the 5th and 6th episodes continued to be broadcast, and the ratings seemed to soar like a rocket, directly breaking through the 0.50% mark, reaching 0.51% and 0.55% respectively. Compared with the premiere episode, it was more than double. 0.5% was an important sign to measure whether a TV series was popular or not. More than that, it was a popular series. Now, there were not many people who doubted the dark horse of Autumn in My Heart. Some people even began to worry about another large-scale urban drama, My Heart is Soaring, which premiered on January 1st. At the same time as Autumn in My Heart began to become popular, another TV series that aired at the same time had to be mentioned, that is, the second season of Urban Love. This TV series, which was broadcast on Beijing TV station Film and Television Channel, also rejected Lu Qin. Its first episode ratings were 0.17%, the second episode dropped to 0.15%, and then it fell all the way and never rose again. The following episodes all hovered around 0.1% and even fell to 0.8%. According to the 0.1% safety line for weekend dramas, the ending of the second season of Urban Love was big not good. It's just that not many people care about its fate at all. Everyone's eyes were fixed on Autumn in My Heart, which was creating a miracle. Chapter 260. The sudden vibration woke Zhang Liwei up from her sleep. She groggily reached out from under the covers, grabbed her cell phone on the bedside table, pressed the power button, and turned off the preset power alarm. The room was dark with the curtains closed, and only a faint light came through the gaps in the curtains. Zhang Liwei lay quietly on the bed for a few minutes, until her brain and body were fully adapted to the state of being awake. She slowly got up and put on her clothes. She was already in her 20s. Although she was young and beautiful, she was still old. If she didn't start taking good care of her skin now, she would have to wait until she was 30. Zhang Liwei cherished herself very much. She had learned how to take good care of herself early, and always faced her work with the best mental and physical state. And it was precisely this that made her stand out from many competitors, giving her a precious opportunity. The TV series she was filming was called Autumn in My Heart, and she played the role of Cui Xinai. He was a character that people hated dearly. After washing up in the bathroom, Zhang Liwei spent a full hour to finish her morning care. She applied a facial mask, nourished her eyes, and deeply cleaned the oil in her pores. As a professional actress, makeup was essential before filming, and all kinds of cosmetics accelerated the aging of the skin. If she didn't take care of her skin in advance, it would be irresponsible. But few people were like Zhang Liwei, who got up an hour earlier to do her maintenance. After the maintenance, she changed into sportswear, left the room, and ran downstairs to the gym to work out. When Zhang Liwei appeared in the restaurant, it was already 7:30 in the morning. Most of the cast and staff of the crew were already having breakfast in the restaurant. They would set off for the set before 8 o'clock to start the day's filming. And in the restaurant, there were not only the crew of Autumn in My Heart, but also other teams, so it was very lively. This was Jinling Film City's village, an apartment-style hotel for the various crew members to stay in. Although it was not as luxurious as a real hotel, it had a superior location and complete facilities. Since the official opening of Jinling Film City, there had never been less than 3 crews stationed in the village, even during the new year. "Good morning, Miss Zhang." "Good morning, Sister Li Wei." "Good morning, Sister Li Wei." Seeing Zhang Liwei, many people greeted her. Some of them were not from Autumn in My Heart. But they all knew her, and some of them even wanted to help her get breakfast. From these people's eyes, Zhang Liwei saw envy and jealousy. She had never received such treatment before. Zhang Liwei was 25 years old this year and graduated from Shanghai Film Academy. She had been filming since she was 19 years old and had also taken on a few small commercials. However, she had always been unknown and had not played any important roles. After graduation, she came to Beijing with her friends to work hard and signed a contract with a second or third-rate agency. After a few years, the best role she got was only a supporting actor. Not many people could recognize her on the street. Some of her friends who came to the capital couldn't hold on any longer and changed careers. Some even got married. Only she silently clenched her teeth and persisted, working and studying hard. Then the dawn of life suddenly appeared. Even now, Zhang Liwei still had a surreal feeling. She was red. It was like a summer storm, coming too fast and catching people off guard. Strictly speaking, it was Autumn in My Heart that became popular. The ratings of the latest episode actually reached 0.55%, showing disdain for all the similar TV series in the country and becoming a hot topic on the internet. Before filming this TV series, Zhang Liwei's V fans on Wave's blog were more than 500,000. On the surface, this number of fans seemed okay and could barely be counted as a small V, but Zhang Liwei knew very well that most of the fans were bought by the agency, which was the so-called zombie fans. Usually, her blog post would only have a few dozen comments, at most a few hundred. But now, the number of her blog fans had soared to 1.2 million, and they were all real fans. Yesterday afternoon, Zhang Liwei posted a behind-the-scenes photo during the break of filming. Last night, there were tens of thousands of likes, more than 10,000 shares and more than 10,000 comments. It was completely different from before. To be honest, before Zhang Liwei took on the role, she really didn't dream that she would start to become popular and her status in the industry would soar before the TV series finished filming. The only thing that was a little depressing was that there were a lot of people scolding her in the blog comment section. Of course, it wasn't that Zhang Liwei's character was bad or that she had done something bad, but the character she played was too hateful. Everyone was scolding Zhang Liwei's character, Cui Xinai. Even Zhang Liwei herself was speechless about her character after reading the entire script. But as an actress, Zhang Liwei not only had to show the characteristics of the character, but she also had to dig out the character's inner heart. Although Cui Xinai was bad, she was also a girl who lacked love and longed for love. Most of her actions were due to psychological imbalance, but she wasn't bad to the core. Her spirit of fighting hard in a lonely situation was also worthy of praise. It was not easy to grasp the propriety, and it required high acting skills. Zhang Liwei held the script and read it over 10 times. Fortunately, she could often discuss with the author and understand the character's thoughts. Then, she could play the character with real life instead of being a programmed acting robot. It was this hard work and perseverance that allowed her to win the recognition of the director, her colleagues, and many fans. After choosing 2 eggs, a glass of milk, and a few pieces of bread from the buffet table, Zhang Liwei found an empty seat and sat down. Halfway through the meal, a middle-aged woman hurried over to them. She hurriedly greeted, "Liwei." Zhang Liwei raised her head and saw the woman. She smiled, "Sister Dai, have you had breakfast?" The makeup artist sitting next to Zhang Liwei was almost done with her meal, so she voluntarily gave up her seat. The middle-aged woman thanked her profusely and sat down to talk to Zhang Liwei in a low voice. Sister Dai was Zhang Liwei's agent. Zhang Liwei had changed agents twice, and Sister Dai was the third one assigned to her by the management company. Zhang Liwei actually didn't like Sister Dai very much. Sister Dai was an old official in the management company that Zhang Liwei had signed with. She was shrewd and snobbish. She had 4 artists under her management, but she rarely asked about Zhang Liwei. Not only was Zhang Liwei the least famous among the 4, but she also didn't deliberately flatter her. Zhang Liwei got the role of Cui Xinai because of her own hard work and luck. It had nothing to do with Sister Dai. Zhang Liwei even knew that when Chen De came to choose, Sister Dai really wanted to recommend someone else. But in the end she won. It was said that Sister Dai was angry because of this and said some unpleasant things in the company. When Zhang Liwei first came to Jinling, Sister Dai didn't follow her. She didn't even have an assistant with her. Everything changed after the premiere of Autumn in My Heart. When the ratings of Autumn in My Heart exceeded 0.3%, Sister Dai personally came to Jinling and brought a personal assistant with her. Most importantly, Sister Dai's attitude changed a lot. She was no longer high and mighty, especially after the ratings exceeded 0.5%. It was like she was a completely different person. She was kind and flattering. Zhang Liwei secretly felt that it was funny and a little sad. But she didn't get carried away because of this. She didn't order Sister Dai around to take revenge for the cold treatment she had received in the past. In the entertainment industry, it was normal for a good person to take the lead. Sister Dai's performance was understandable. At least when she got the role, Sister Dai fought for a good contract for her. Even if the other party could get a commission from the contract. Zhang Liwei knew that Sister Dai must be worried that she would change her agent after she became popular. At least for now, she didn't want to change her agent. Of course, Zhang Liwei wouldn't tell Sister Dai what she thought. She felt that she really had some of Cui Xinai's temperament. Sister Dai ran over in the morning to tell Zhang Liwei a piece of good news. A very famous clothing brand was interested in signing an endorsement contract with her. The brand liked her potential and appearance, and was interested in signing a 2-year contract. The conditions were quite good. Zhang Liwei quietly listened to Sister Dai while eating breakfast. Then she said, "Sister Dai, let's put this aside for now. I think the ratings of Autumn in My Heart can still increase." If it was half a month ago, even if the price was only half or lower, she couldn't wait to sign it. But now the other party was picking up. Sister Dai was speechless. She didn't expect Zhang Liwei to be so calm. She originally wanted to give the latter a surprise. Sister Dai found that she knew too little about Zhang Liwei. Zhang Liwei was far more mature and rational than she thought. She had her own opinions and wouldn't be manipulated by others. She suddenly had a feeling that she was about to lose the treasure. Zhang Liwei didn't care about what Sister Dai thought. After she ate her breakfast slowly, she called her assistant and took the bus rented by the crew to the set. Today's shooting task was very heavy. They had to rush to many places in a row. After getting off the bus, Zhang Liwei quickly found 2 familiar figures. Her face suddenly bloomed with a charming smile, and she rushed over to say hello. "Sister Fei, Teacher Lu, hello." In the crew of Autumn in My Heart, Apart from the director, Zhang Liwei respected the two people in front of her the most, Lu Qin and Qin Fei. Especially for Lu Qin, her gratitude came from the bottom of her heart. Chapter 261. When Lu Qin was negotiating with Chenda Pictures, he put forward the requirements for the director and the leading actor and actress. According to the rules of the film and television circle, what he wanted to cut away was the biggest cake in a drama. Therefore, in the previous negotiations with Baolong Pictures, Zhu Mingyi thought that Lu Chen's appetite was too big and he didn't know the immensity of heaven and earth, so he didn't hesitate to refuse Autumn in My Heart, which was really not a big mistake. Zhu Mingyi just lacked a little patience. He didn't expect that the choice of the leading actress was Qin Fei. The situation of Chenda Pictures was different. It was Lu Yi, its business manager, who took the initiative to find Lu Qin. In addition, he understood the specific situation, and his own strength was not strong enough, so he was naturally in a weak position. So although Lu Qin didn't make any requests, Chenda Pictures still fully respected Lu Chen's opinion in the selection of several important supporting roles. Cui Xinai in the play was the first supporting actress. Her role was very heavy and she had a lot of scenes with the leading actor. Therefore, when Chenda Pictures was selecting, they specially gave the VCR of the 7 actors selected in the preliminary selection to Lu Qin. Lu Qin selected Zhang Liwei from the 7. Of course, he didn't know Zhang Liwei, but he felt that the other party's appearance and temperament were very suitable, and he was satisfied with the interview. After Zhang Liwei officially signed the contract, she learned about the situation through the company and was naturally very grateful to Lu Qin. The film and television circle was a very complicated place. Here, it didn't mean that you would be able to get ahead if you had talent and strength. It was unknown how many talents were buried, and there were countless rules in the open and in the dark. It was not easy to select actors for a TV series, even if it was a new one with no reputation. It was really rare for her to be selected as the first supporting actress purely based on her own conditions. Zhang Liwei was not famous, had no real works to show, and did not dedicate herself to art. And after the official start of shooting, her cooperation with Lu Qin was very pleasant. Lu Qin didn't put on the slightest airs. He always patiently and carefully explained the role to her and helped her integrate smoothly into the crew. What surprised Zhang Liwei was that Lu Qin was very young. He had only acted in commercials and music videos before, but his acting skills and theoretical knowledge were very solid. He had the aura of a veteran actor. She was a professional and had acted in many TV dramas, but they were all inferior. Most importantly, Lu Qin had no ambitions towards her. Zhang Liwei had been in the entertainment industry for several years, so she understood the importance of opportunities. If Lu Qin, who had a very high status in the crew, wanted something from her, she wouldn't mind sacrificing herself. At least Lu Qin was handsome, wasn't he? However, Lu Qin had no intention of doing that at all. He had always been polite. Teacher Lu was her sincere way of addressing him. Even though Lu Qin was a few years younger than her. Helpless, Lu Qin said, "Sister Li Wei, you call me Teacher Lu and call her Sister Fei. Are you trying to disgust me?" He had already corrected the other party several times, but he had never changed his ways. Zhang Liwei and Qin Fei both laughed. Zhang Liwei smiled and said, "Well, I'll call you De Qin from now on." The crew of Autumn in My Heart had the best atmosphere that Zhang Liwei had ever been in. There was no intrigue or quarrel here. Qin Fei had the highest status, but he had never put on airs. He was even polite to the most ordinary staff. Lu Qin was the screenwriter, the author, the leading actor, and the investor. His position in the crew was also very important. He was kind and talented and worked very well with Qin Fei. They even called each other brother and sister. Lu Qin and Qin Fei were also very supportive of the director, Fang Hui. Chenda Pictures, which managed the crew, was not very powerful, so there was no internal strife in the crew. The other actors cherished the opportunity and worked together, so the shooting went very smoothly. There was a good hope that all 20 episodes could be shot in advance. Now the ratings of Autumn in My Heart were rising, and it became a dark horse in the TV market at the end of the year. Everyone benefited from it, and the atmosphere of the crew was even better. Zhang Liwei knew that even if she made some harmless jokes with Lu Qin, the latter would not mind. She even liked the big boy in front of her a little. Lu Qin did not think too much about it. He called the other actors and began to shoot for the day. From morning to evening, it was not until it was dark that the director, Fang Hui, announced the end of the shooting. In the temporary lounge, Qin Fei was so tired that she had no strength to speak. She had the most scenes today. There were several scenes that had been shot many times, and it was not easy for her to pass. The more Fang Hui shot, the more she felt, and the higher her expectations for the actors were. She always wanted to do the best in the scenes that others thought were completely qualified. Chin Feier was under a lot of pressure. There was no one around. She leaned on Lu Chen's shoulder and said, "I want to have a good rest for a few days after shooting this movie." Lu Chen smiled and said, "It's going to be the new year after shooting. It's a good New Year holiday." Chin Feier adjusted her posture and leaned directly into his arms. She half closed her eyes and said, "When I was a child, I looked forward to the new year the most. I could wear new clothes and eat a lot of delicious food. But now I don't feel much about the new year. I spend New Year's Eve at the TV station." As the heavenly queen of the music industry, Chin Feier really had too many invitations during the new year, and some invitations could not be refused. For example, there was a solo performance by Chin Feier on the CCTV Spring Festival Gala this year, which others could not ask for. But she would not participate in the Spring Festival Gala next February. Lu Chen held her hand and asked, "Why don't you come to my house for the new year this year?" Chin Feier's delicate body suddenly tightened, and a faint blush appeared on her pretty face. "Your house." Of course, she knew what Lu Chen's invitation meant. Lu Chen smiled and said, "Yes, my mother and little sister will definitely welcome you." Chin Feier relaxed again and said with a red face, "It's too soon. I'm not ready yet." According to the traditional concept, when she went to Lu Chen's house to see Lu Chen's mother during the new year, it was basically like seeing her mother-in-law. Lu Chen was more or less disappointed, but he could understand. Chin Feier felt guilty. She reached out and put her arms around Lu Chen's neck and took the initiative to give him a hot kiss. Ring ring ring. As a result, their lips had just touched each other when Lu Chen's cell phone suddenly rang. Lu Chen wanted to ignore it, but the phone kept ringing. He had to reluctantly let go of the beauty in his arms. What Lu Chen didn't expect was that it was Qin Hanyang who opened the phone for him. "Brother Qin?" Qin Hanyang's familiar voice came from the phone. "Lu Chen, are you busy?" Lu Chen made a gesture to Chin Feier and said with a smile, "I just finished filming. What's the matter, brother Qin?" Qin Hanyang said, "I'm in Jinling. Long time no see. Let's have dinner together tonight." Lu Chen was surprised. "Brother Qin, you also came to Jinling? Where are you now? I'll send someone to pick you up." Qin Hanyang smiled, "No need to trouble yourself. I've booked a table at Qinhuai restaurant with CEO Dong and manager Su. Why don't you come directly? We'll wait for you." "No problem." Lu Chen readily agreed, "I'll be there in an hour." After chatting with Qin Hanyang for a while, he ended the call and said to Chin Feier, "I can't accompany you for dinner tonight. Qin Hanyang is coming with people from Light Rain Media." If it was only Qin Hanyang, Lu Chen could bring Chin Feier with him. But it would be inconvenient for people from Light Rain Media. Chin Feier understood. "Well, remember not to drink too much. Come back early and rest." It was like a gentle wife reminding her husband who was going out to socialize. Lu Chen felt a trace of warmth in his heart. He couldn't help but lower his head to kiss her, but Chin Feier blocked his kiss with a smile. "You stink. Go take a shower and change your clothes. Otherwise it'll be too late." Lu Chen grabbed her hand and kissed it. Then he laughed and got up to leave. He called Li Feiyu and went back to the hotel first. After taking a hot shower and changing into a set of clean clothes, the two took a taxi to Qinhuai restaurant. Qinhuai restaurant was by the Qinhuai River. When Lu Chen and Li Feiyu arrived, it was almost 8 o'clock in the evening. They found the private room that Qin Hanyang mentioned. There were 6 people inside. In addition to Qin Hanyang, Dong Yu and Su Qingmei, there were 2 other men and a woman, but Lu Chen didn't know them. Brother Qin, Dong Yu, manager Su. After entering the door, he apologized with embarrassment. "I'm really sorry to be late. Everyone has been waiting for a long time." There were 6 plates of cold dishes and drinks on the table. None of them had been touched. It was obvious that they were waiting for his arrival. Everyone in the private room, including Dong Yu, stood up. Dong Yu said with a smile, "We are the ones who are embarrassed. We came at the last minute to disturb you." Lu Chen smiled and said, "Dong Yu is too polite." The general manager of Light Rain Media was delicate and beautiful. She had a mature and charming temperament. She was a first-class beauty. Lu Chen had dealt with her before, but they hadn't seen each other for a long time. Su Qingmei, who was standing next to Dong Yu, was still as charming as he remembered. She was wearing a Chanel suit that showed off her perfect figure. Her eyes were full of ripples. She smiled and said, "Teacher Lu, since you are late, you have to drink 3 cups of wine as punishment." Hearing her call him Teacher Lu, Lu Chen felt goosebumps all over his body. It was so mushy. Lu Chen twitched the corner of his mouth and said, "It's what I should do." He quickly turned to Qin Hanyang and opened his arms to give him a solid hug. "Brother Qin, long time no see." The current Lu Qin didn't need to give face to Su Qingmei or even Dong Yu, but that didn't include Qin Hanyang. Qin Hanyang was stunned at first, then he smiled and patted Lu Chen's back. "Long time no see." Everyone was very busy, so the chances of them meeting each other were very few. But the friendship between the two didn't change. Lu Chen let go and asked, "The bionics didn't come? Where is Sister Na?" Qin Hanyang explained, "They are somewhere else. They came to Jinling today for an event. Sister Na is pregnant." Lu Chen was stunned. "Sister Na is pregnant?" Qin Hanyang nodded. "Yes, I just found out. She is staying at home to take care of the baby." This was really unexpected news. Chapter 262. Sister Na went to the hospital yesterday and was diagnosed with pregnancy. This news was a great surprise to her and Qin Jianhao. It was something that they had not expected at all. After all, both of them were not young and it was not easy to get pregnant. Under such circumstances, it was naturally impossible for Sister Na to continue to cooperate with the bionics. Except for the signed contracts, activities such as announcements and performances must end. For an elderly woman like her, raising the fetus was the most important thing. After learning the news, Lu Chen immediately called her. As a result, it was Qin Jianhao who answered the phone. Anyway, it was the same. Lu Chen said with a smile, "Brother Kenho, congratulations on becoming a father." Qin Jianhao responded quickly, "You saw the great Qin?" Lu Chen said with a smile, "Yes, what about Sister Na?" Qin Jianhao said, "It's the same if you have something to say to me. Don't let her use the phone." Lu Chen was speechless. Was there a need to be so careful? Of course, he could understand the other party's mood. He chatted with Qin Jianhao for a while and said that he would see Sister Na after returning to the capital. When the call was about to end, Qin Jianhao hesitated and said, "Dong Yu and Su Qingmei are also there. It's not easy for them. They came with the great Qin to ask you for help. If it's not difficult, help them if you can. There will be a time when they will repay you in the future." Lu Chen said, "Brother Kenho, I understand. You can rest assured and accompany Sister Na well." Qin Jianhao laughed and hung up the phone. After chatting with Qin Jianhao, Lu Chen and Dong Yu chatted for a while. For the general manager of Light Rain Media, Lu Chen had a good impression. She was beautiful, generous, and had an outstanding temperament. She didn't have that kind of girl's temperament. She was an elite who could get things done. Dong Yu took the opportunity to introduce him to the two men and one woman. The three of them were very young. The man was handsome and the woman was beautiful. Their height and appearance were very idol style. They were all newly signed artists under Light Rain Media and had just debuted. As they spoke, the dishes were served one by one. At this point in time, everyone's stomachs were already rumbling with hunger. Without further ado, they immediately started eating and filling their stomachs. After eating half of the shrimp dumplings, Dong Yu wiped the oil stains on the corner of her mouth with a napkin. She raised her glass to Lu Chen and said, "Lu Chen, I propose a toast to you." Lu Chen put down his chopsticks and picked up his wine glass. He smiled and said, "Xiao Dong, you don't have to be so polite. We all know each other. I'll drink this glass of wine. If you have something to say, just say it. I'll definitely help if I can." Dong Yu sighed in his heart. Half a year ago, Lu Chen was just a singer and waiter in Forget Grass Bar. Half a year later, he was already a very famous singer and composer in the circle. He opened his own studio and his album sales skyrocketed. He also had the ability to help others create stars. Now he wrote and acted in his own TV series and began to develop in an all-round way. Lu Chen's talent in music has already made people very envious and jealous. Who would have thought that he could also write screenplays? Since the first TV series he starred in, the ratings have been rising steadily. It really makes people speechless. If they had known that he had such great ability, Light Rain Media would have signed him at all costs. Unfortunately, no one had the ability to predict the future. She missed it, then she missed it. Now that Lu Chen has gradually grown up, it's her turn to ask for help. Life was really hard to predict. Dong Yu also knew that Qin Jianhao must have said something to Lu Chen for the latter to be so straightforward. Otherwise, her own face might not be enough. Lu Chen had no need to ask anything of her. "If you want to help, it's very simple." Before Dong Yu could speak, Su Qingmei rushed to say, "Arrange a role for little Yang and the others." The three newcomers were shocked when they heard this. They all stared at Lu Chen at the same time. Their eyes showed excitement, anticipation, and nervousness, as if they were waiting for the judgment of fate. Lu Chen's Autumn in My Heart had already become popular. The topic of this TV series had exploded on Waves' blog. Apart from himself and the female lead, Chin Fei, several supporting roles in the TV series had emerged and won a lot of popularity. In the entertainment industry, compared to music and variety shows, the road to fame in film and television was the fastest. A popular TV series or movie could make an actor famous overnight, and in the blink of an eye, enter the ranks of the top. The TV series, Autumn in My Heart, was not looked upon favorably at the beginning. Now it had become a dark horse in the ratings. It was famous and beneficial. Who wouldn't be jealous? If the few of them could get some light, even if they played a small role in it, it would be a topic of great hype. For this, Dong Yu and Su Qingmei did not hesitate to personally take action and even pulled Qin Hanyang over. Lu Chen didn't know whether to laugh or cry. "Manager Su, if you are talking about Autumn in My Heart, then I'm sorry, I can't help you. 1 carrot 1 pit. Before Autumn in My Heart started filming, the main roles had already been determined. Now that more than 10 episodes had been filmed, there weren't many episodes left. How could there be free roles for the 3 of them? Unless they were extras. But how could they use side characters? It was better not to give them. In fact, Light Rain Media wasn't the first to come knocking. Ever since the ratings of Autumn in My Heart kept going up, the Chinda brothers had been harassed quite a bit. In the later stages, even the side characters with only 1 or 2 lines were filled up. There were no empty spots at all. This was also a feature of weekend dramas that were filmed and broadcast at the same time. Other than the main characters, the side characters could be freely adjusted or even increased or decreased. In extreme cases, even the main characters could be changed, they just had to change the script. Regular dramas were all broadcast after filming, so there wouldn't be such a possibility. Su Qingmei frowned. There aren't any small supporting roles? She didn't expect to get any important roles because it wasn't realistic at all. She just wanted to let the newcomers under her banner gain some experience and gain some popularity and qualifications. Autumn in My Heart was very popular. If the artists who had acted in it went to other dramas, others would definitely look up to them. Dong Yu glared at her. Mei. Even if you don't need to be humble, you can't be arrogant and bossy. Su Qingmei's temper had always been a headache for Dong Yu. Su Qingmei curled her lips. Lu Chen smiled faintly. There are only 20 episodes of Autumn in My Heart. It's really too late to ask for a role now. But next year I'm going to invest in a new drama. Dong Yu's eyes lit up. What new drama? If Lu Chen had told her before filming Autumn in My Heart that he wanted to invest in a drama, she would have taken it as a joke. Can you make a drama? The film and television industry was very big and the water was very deep. Without enough strength and ability, it was impossible to play around. Many outsiders who didn't understand the rules saw the market was hot and rushed in with their pockets full of money. They wanted to make a fortune and play some unspoken rules, but they often lost everything. Even among the people in the industry, there were too many examples of failure. But an unfinished Autumn in My Heart allowed Lu Chen to firmly plant a flag in this industry. With the current ratings of Autumn in My Heart, it might not become a phenomenal drama, but there was no doubt that it would become popular. With this strong experience, his next new drama would definitely be the focus of attention. It was a pity to miss Autumn in My Heart, but it was also a great gain to get a role in the new drama. Lu Chen smiled and said, "It's a secret for now. I've already started to prepare the script. Let them audition when the time comes. They will be given priority if they have the same conditions." Dong Yu beamed with joy. "Thank you so much." Since Lu Chen had said it like this, it would be wrong if she was still dissatisfied. Opportunities were given by others, but face had to be earned by oneself. If Lu Chen really patted his chest and said, "Come on all of you, pick any role you want," then he would be a fool. Under Dong Yu's signal, the 3 newcomers toasted Lu Chen one after another to express their gratitude. Putting aside the opportunity they got, just getting to know a person like Lu Chen was also of great benefit to them. There was a saying in the circle that Lu Chen had the ability to turn stone into gold, and whoever he pointed at would become popular. The Bionics, MSN, were the best examples. If these examples were from the pop music industry, then Zhang Liwei and Hu Yang, who were now very popular, were the 2 rising stars in the film and television industry. Zhang Liwei played the first female supporting role in Autumn in My Heart, while Hu Yang played Han Taishi. In particular, the latter's popularity in the drama was second only to Chen Fei, and Lu Chen. It was also said that Lu Chen first took the script to Baolong Pictures, but was rejected. Baolong Pictures was now regretting it so much that their intestines turned green. All of this showed the powerful energy possessed by Lu Chen. He could make himself popular and he could also make others popular. Such a character was undoubtedly the most popular in the circle. Lu Chen accepted their thanks with a smile. He was willing to give Light Rain Media an opportunity and give Dong Yu face. In addition to his relationship with Qin Jinhao and Qin Hanyang, it was also the need to expand his own network. Since stepping into the entertainment industry, Lu Chen has implemented a strategy of independence and win-win development. Independence meant not signing with any entertainment agency and being able to control his own destiny. Win-win means that on the way forward, he will continue to strengthen himself by choosing reliable partners. Lu Chen Studio does not sign artists, nor does it operate agency media or film and television production companies. Even the promising online crowdfunding was withdrawn, only retaining a minority of shares, and has been sharing the benefits with partners. Lu Chen was able to develop so smoothly now, which was inseparable from such a strategy. For example, Flying Stone Records, Chenda Pictures, Rainbow Agency, and now Light Rain Media. Giving up the benefits brought more and more partners, more and more friends, and more connections. His foundation in the entertainment industry was getting deeper and deeper. And without a strong foundation, all the glory was like a castle on the beach, which could collapse with a gust of wind and waves. This was Lu Chen's idea. Chapter 263. This dinner, the guests and the host were happy. Dong Yu and Su Qingmei not only got what they wanted, but also restored a good cooperative relationship with Lu Chen. The three newcomers of Light Rain Media were even more happy, because they were almost booked roles in Lu Chen's new TV series. Even if it was an ordinary supporting role, it was a precious opportunity. Qin Hanyang completed the task and had a lot of face. And Lu Chen did not suffer a loss, letting the two beauties owe him a big favor. If it was an ordinary beauty, this favor was not worth much. Although Dong Yu and Su Qingmei had just begun to gain a foothold in the circle, their backgrounds were not ordinary. Just like the Li family represented by Li Mubai and Li Mushi, Lu Chen gave up most of the shares of the crowdfunding website, and got the friendship and support of the former. With this relationship, the ordinary people inside and outside the circle dare not easily bully Lu Chen. If you want to mix well in the entertainment industry, you will only become a stepping stone for others without a little background. But Lu Chen can't always rely on the Li family. The favor will always be used up. The friendship between him and Li Mubai is not a chip that can be squandered at will. Continuing to accumulate more and wider contacts is the right choice. Therefore, Lu Chen was happy to let Dong Yu and Su Qingmei owe him a favor, and he did not pay much. When after dinner it was already 10 p.m. When Qin Hanyang, whose face was red, walked out of the restaurant, he reached out and patted Lu Chen on the shoulder and said, "Lu Chen, I'll take you to a very interesting place. Are you free tonight?" He drank a lot of wine in the evening and was obviously a little drunk. Lu Chen said with a smile, "It's okay. Brother Qin, if you say it's interesting, it must be very interesting." Qin Hanyang laughed and waved, "Let's go." Lu Chen said goodbye to the people of Light Rain Media, and then left with Li Feiyu with Qin Hanyang. Qin Hanyang took Lu Chen to a place called 1912 Street, which was the bar street of Jinling. This place was only separated from the presidential palace by a wall, and the surrounding buildings had a very historical charm. At night, the lights were bright and walking inside was like walking into the years, giving people a feeling like they were in a dream. It was obviously not the first time for Qin Hanyang to come to 1912. He was very familiar with the streets here. After getting off the taxi, he took Lu Chen to continue walking for 100 meters, and then turned into a rather quiet alley. The alley was very short, only a few dozen meters long, and it was a dead end. At the end of the alley was an LED light box. The design of the signboard was very unique. The four hollow English letters "Crow" were very eye-catching and could be seen from far away. Along the way, Qin Hanyang sobered up a lot. He pointed to the sign and said, "This is the Black Raven Bar. The Black Ravens used to sing here, and it was they who changed the name after they came here. My buddies are all in there. There are many like-minded friends who sing rock and roll." Lu Chen suddenly understood. This Black Raven Bar was undoubtedly one of the gathering points for musicians in Jinling. There were similar bars in Beijing. This kind of bar was hidden deep, and usually did not welcome ordinary guests. People who often came were industry insiders or veteran music fans. Relatively speaking, the commercial atmosphere was very light, and the artistic atmosphere was very strong, similar to a literary salon. He remembered something and asked, "Jinling School?" Qin Hanyang nodded, "Yes." Lu Chen suddenly understood. The so-called Jinling School was one of the three major schools in the domestic rock and roll circle. The other two schools were the Cantonese School and the Beijing School. They were all national rock but had different creative styles. The formation of the style of the three major schools was inseparable from the local environment. The rock and roll of the Beijing school often involved a lot of political and social content, full of depression and anger. The Cantonese school was most deeply influenced by European and American rock and roll. It liked to explore human nature under the great changes of society, decadent and degenerate. As for the Jinling school, it had a strong artistic atmosphere, not so extreme and crazy, leaning towards light rock and roll. Since the beginning of the new century, the national rock and roll rapidly declined. The older generation of rock and roll stars either died or changed careers. The three major schools gradually declined, and now they basically did not have much influence on the pop music scene. Many young people did not even know about these things. Because of the style, compared to the Cantonese school and the Beijing school, the Jinling school had a slightly stronger presence. There were several local bands that were still active in the music scene. The Black Raven Bar was obviously the nest of the Jinling school, which was why Qin Hanyang said it was very interesting. Lu Chen was also interested. The Black Raven Bar was located in an old house that looked like it had hundreds of years of history. If there was no light signage, it would not be easy to tell that it was a music bar, but more like an ordinary rich family's home. There were no waiters or security guards at the door. When he opened the door and entered, the unique smell of a bar suddenly hit his face, accompanied by the sound of music. The inside of the bar was bigger than Lu Chen had imagined. There were a lot of customers. Men and women surrounded the uniquely designed tables, chatting, drinking, laughing, and listening to music. It was noisier than the bars in Hohai, but not as chaotic as Sanlitun. On the stage, a 5-member rock band was performing, singing Ancient Clock Tower by the Black Raven. The lead singer holding the bass was disheveled, and he was screaming into the microphone, as if he wanted to roar with all the strength in his body. There was a kind of hysterical madness. In fact, Ancient Clock Tower was a rare nostalgic song by the Black Raven Band. The melody was not intense and high-spirited, with a bit of a folk song. The band had obviously rearranged the classic and performed it in their own style. As for the effect, it was up to the person to decide. Their performance probably attracted the attention of most of the guests, so not many people noticed the arrival of Qin Hanyang and Lu Chen. Qin Hanyang took Lu Chen to a seat in the corner. The 4 members of the Bionics were there, as well as a man and a woman that Lu Chen did not recognize. They sat behind 2 long tables that were put together. There were all kinds of food and beer bottles on the table which looked very messy. Brother Qin. Brother Chen. The people of the Bionics were drinking happily. As soon as they saw Qin Hanyang and Lu Chen, they quickly stood up and greeted them. Lu Chen smiled and said, "Long time no see." He hadn't seen the Bionics for several months. Everyone was busy, so they were not on the same page. Qin Hanyang introduced to Lu Chen, "This is Big Jiang, the boss of the Black Raven, Jiang Zia's Jiang." Big Jiang was a dark and thin middle-aged man. He wore jeans and a long-sleeved t-shirt, and his face had a weathered look. He didn't look like a bar owner at all, but more like a migrant worker on a construction site, rough and real. Lu Chen smiled, "Hello brother Big Jiang. It's nice to meet you." Qin Hanyang introduced Lu Chen, "This is Lu Chen. I don't need to introduce him, right? Nice to meet you." Big Jiang took the initiative to extend his hand to Lu Chen. His eyes were filled with joy. "I've wanted to meet you for a long time, but unfortunately I didn't have the chance. I missed it the last time I went to Beijing. Today my wish has finally come true." Qin Hanyang said, "Big Jiang used to sing rock and roll. His singing skills are much better than running a bar." Lu Chen smiled and shook hands with him. "Nice to meet you. Sit, sit, sit." Big Jiang invited everyone to sit down, while the woman beside him quickly cleaned up the empty bottles and plates. Big Jiang asked the waiter to help, and they quickly cleaned up and sent new beers. Lu Chen took a beer and took a sip, but he didn't drink much. He had already drunk quite a lot that night. Big Jiang was quite excited. He first chatted with everyone and drank some beer. After the live band finished singing, he rushed to the stage excitedly and asked for the microphone. "Good evening, friends," the bar owner said with a smile. "I'm very happy to tell everyone something. That is the famous The Bionics and Qin Hanyang, our Big Qin, have come to Black Crow Bar. Everyone welcome." Applause and whistles sounded. The customers looked left and right looking for Qin Hanyang. Qin Hanyang hurriedly stood up and waved to everyone to express his gratitude. The applause became even louder. Big Jiang continued, "Also there's a friend who came with Big Qin. Everyone definitely didn't expect. He's the original creator of In the Spring, Blue Lotus and Chasing Dreams with a Pure Heart, Lu Chen." Lu Chen. There was an uproar at the scene. The applause was much weaker, but there were sounds of discussion mixed with a few screams. The screams belonged to girls. Lu Chen also stood up and waved. Many people saw him and the chatter became louder. Most of them were, "Is this Lu Qin? Why did he come to Black Crow Bar? Hee hee," and so on. Black Crow Bar was a niche music bar. Its customer base was very narrow. Basically, it was people in the industry and rock music fans. There were also a small number of ordinary music fans, or people who were brought in by friends to see something new. In this small circle, the reputation of Qin Hanyang and the Bionics was undoubtedly louder than that of Lu Qin. The customers of Black Crow Bar had a higher sense of recognition for him. But there was no one who didn't know the name Lu Qin. Even those who disdained his youth or writing style had heard of In the Spring, Blue Lotus, Chasing Dreams with a Pure Heart, Fly Higher. In fact, these songs were often performed on stage. Under normal circumstances, Lu Qin wouldn't have much interaction with a circle like Black Crow Bar. No one expected him to appear here. Some were surprised, some were curious, and some were disdainful. It was very complicated. Not everyone welcomed him. Lu Qin felt the strange atmosphere in the bar and quietly sat down again. He felt a little out of place here. Qin Hanyang frowned and suddenly realized that it seemed to be a mistake to bring Lu Qin to Black Crow Bar to play. There weren't many fans of Lu Qin here, even if he wrote a work like In the Spring. Chapter 264. It was drizzling outside. Many guests came to the Black Crow Bar. The seats were almost full and it was getting more and more lively. The boss, De Jiang, returned to the place where the Bionics was and gave the stage to the band and singer. Someone was shouting Qin Hanyang's name, hoping that he would perform on stage. Although it wasn't a pure rock band, the Bionics led by Qin Hanyang had a high reputation in this circle. It was also because he was friends with De Jiang that he was invited. De Jiang unscrewed a bottle of beer and handed it to Qin Hanyang. He smiled and said, "Do you want to go up and play?" He had known Qin Hanyang for many years and knew the latter's temperament, so he didn't say anything polite. It didn't matter if Qin Hanyang didn't want to sing, he was just here to play. A little later, Qin Hanyang took the bottle, touched his belly and said, "My stomach is still full, I need to digest it first." Everyone laughed. De Jiang looked for Lu Qin to talk, and didn't forget to greet Li Feiyu, even if the latter was only Lu Qin's assistant. Lu Qin felt that the boss of the Black Crow Bar was quite interesting, so he chatted with him. De Jiang was a Jinling local and he had opened a bar for many years. It was easy for him to talk about interesting things, so the atmosphere was very harmonious. Even the members of the Bionics joined in the conversation. "Brother Lu Qin," while they were chatting happily, a timid voice suddenly came from the side, "Can I have an autograph?" Lu Qin couldn't help but turn his head to look, only to see two 18 or 19-year-old girls appear beside him, holding their mobile phones tightly in their hands, looking at him with eyes full of expectation, their faces with a shy and uneasy expression. These two were obviously not rock singers or fans. They were most likely brought by their friends to watch the fun. The Black Crow Bar was actually very similar to some music bars in Hohai. Most of the customers were people in the circle, and a group of underground singers gathered here. The expenses weren't high, the atmosphere was unique, and it was quite mysterious in the eyes of ordinary people. Bringing a girl here to experience it was actually a very new thing, and it added to the coolness. The people in this small circle did not like Lu Qin very much, but the guests who came to watch the fun were different. For example, the two girls in front of them were not true fans of Lu Qin, but they were also fans of his idols. Lu Qin smiled and said, "Sure, where should I sign?" Whether they were real fans or passers-by, he had always been friendly and kind to his fans. He never put on airs or put on airs. For example, Lu Qin would try his best to satisfy his fans' requests for autographs. The two girls were a little surprised, but more than that, they were pleasantly surprised. They quickly borrowed a pen and paper from the waiter. After successfully getting the autograph, one of the girls became bolder and said, "Brother Lu Qin, I like watching Autumn in My Heart the most. You played Enchanting really well." Lu Qin smiled and said, "Thank you." The girl took the opportunity to ask, "Brother Lu Qin, can I take a picture with you?" Lu Qin nodded and stood up. The girl was instantly overjoyed. She quickly passed the phone to her friend and held his arm. She even tilted her head and leaned on Lu Qin's shoulder. After taking the picture, her friend was very envious and also wanted to take a picture. Lu Qin could only be a prop and took a picture with the two girls, which made them extremely satisfied. A passerby was definitely going to become a true fan. When Lu Qin sat down again, Qin Hanyang shook his head and sighed at De Jiang. "De Jiang, we're really old now. We can't even lie to young girls anymore. If it was in the past, sigh." The two girls only cared about talking and taking pictures with Lu Qin and completely ignored the Bionics who were sitting next to them. Qin Hanyang's self-deprecation made everyone burst out laughing. Lu Chen could not help but laugh. When the country was popular, being a rock singer was a very cool thing to do. Wearing a t-shirt and tattered jeans with long hair, he could easily charm ignorant girls, especially the kind of artistic young women. Nowadays, people who wore similar outfits were basically classified as hip-hop style and had to wear all kinds of shiny jewelry. The era of rock had long passed. Only places like the Black Crow Bar still stuck to a small circle, huddling together to recall the glory days of the past. People like Qin Hanyang belonged to the category of people who had walked out and could no longer be considered as part of this circle. It was probably because the two girls had played a good role in setting a good example. Next, several girls ran over to ask for autographs and pictures, making their table the focus of attention at the scene. There were more whispers and discussions, most of which were directed at Lu Chen. In the Black Crow Bar, young and pure girls were scarce resources. They all rushed to get close to Lu Chen. How could the other singers be happy when they heard that? The atmosphere naturally began to become strange. Qin Hanyang noticed the strange gazes from around him. He thought for a moment and immediately said to the members of the Bionics, "Let's go up and play a few songs." In fact, at this time Lu Chen planned to leave. There was no need to let himself be pointed at. However, Qin Hanyang had to sing on stage. He couldn't run away now, so he had to stay. With the Bionics on stage, everyone's attention was diverted. Whether it was in Hohai in Beijing or 1912 in Jinling, the Bionics were legendary. From obscurity to fame overnight, the story of this band was widely circulated in the circle. Everyone had heard of the Bionic songs, but not many had actually heard them live. Therefore, as soon as they appeared, they received warm applause, cheers, and screams. Qin Hanyang sat down on a stool with his electric guitar in his arms. He first tested the sound, then reached out to adjust the height of the microphone. He cleared his throat and said, "I'm very happy to return to the Black Crow Bar today. I walked from here to Beijing. It's been more than 10 years. Some friends are still here and some have gone far away. But no matter what, it's our fate to be able to meet here tonight. I just want to sing a few songs and everyone will like it." As soon as his voice fell, cheers and applause exploded. Many people even stood up and applauded. Qin Hanyang raised his hand to signal everyone to be quiet and continued, "Thank you Big Jiang for giving me this opportunity, and thank you Lu Chen for creating such a good work. In the spring for everyone." The atmosphere in the bar was ignited in an instant, and it was extremely enthusiastic. I still remember the spring many years ago when I hadn't cut my long hair yet, but I was so happy at that time, although I only had a broken wooden guitar, on the street, under the bridge, in the field, singing the song that no one cared about. Qin Hanyang had sung in the spring countless times. He was absolutely skilled, and his understanding of this work had reached a very profound level. Some people didn't know and even thought that In the Spring was Qin Hanyang's life experience and he created it. Many singers had covered this classic, but very few people could sing the vicissitudes of life in the song. This was a work of extreme vicissitudes. Back to Jinling, back to the Black Crow Bar, back to the place where his dream began. The emotions that Qin Hanyang integrated into the song became stronger, as if it was a jar of old wine. Many people present were humming or singing in silence, as if they were on a pilgrimage. When Qin Hanyang finished singing, almost everyone stood up, applauded and cheered, including Lu Chen. It was undoubtedly the right choice for him to give this song to the Bionics. After In the Spring, Qin Hanyang sang Fly Higher. This song was first sung by Lu Chen in Singing China. Later, he licensed the cover rights to the Bionics, which released a single and became one of the signature works of the Bionics. It was also loved by everyone. And Qin Hanyang also used these two works to tell everyone what excellent talent Lu Chen has. When the applause in the bar subsided, Qin Hanyang said, "Thank you again for Lu Chen's creation of this song Fly Higher. He is a great singer-songwriter. Let's invite him to sing this song for us." This time the applause was much more sincere and warm. No matter what prejudice they have, no one can deny Lu Chen's talent. No matter how much they don't like folk singers, they can't ignore Lu Chen's influence in the pop music world today. Even in the rock circle, Lu Chen's name is still loud, but some people selectively ignore it. They even think that In the Spring is not really rock. At this moment in the Black Crow Bar, there are also such conceited and proud people, watching Lu Chen on the stage with complicated eyes, wanting to hear what song he will sing. "You who sat next to me? The brightest star in the night sky?" They're all jokes. At most, Chasing Dream with a Childlike Heart is barely qualified. Even Qin Hanyang thought that Lu Chen would sing Chasing Dream with a Childlike Heart. he said in a low voice. We've practiced chasing dream with a childlike heart. There's no problem with the accompaniment. Returning to this once familiar and proud circle, Qin Hanyang suddenly found that he was a little out of place in this circle. Those old rock singers are still immersed in the glory of the past and don't want to make progress, while young rock singers can't find a way out and are generally impetuous and anxious. Some people say that rock has long been dead. Qin Hanyang doesn't completely deny this, but he always believes that there will be a time for national rock to be reborn, as long as there are a few more excellent writers like Lu Qin. What's funny is that this small circle actually faintly rejects Lu Qin. Out of his love for rock and roll and his once firm belief, Qin Hanyang stands here to support Lu Qin. He wants to let these people understand how ridiculous their stubborn pride is. If they don't seek novelty, don't seek change, don't follow the pulse of the times, then national rock will really die. The so-called Jinling school is nothing more than struggling at death's door. Chapter 265. Qin Hanyang wasn't a simple person. He couldn't be simple either. He had been in the circle for so many years and had already tasted the bitterness of the world. But there was still hot blood in his heart, and that was the love of rock and roll. It was just that in the face of the helpless reality before, he could only bury this love deep in his heart and work hard for a living. Today's Qin Hanyang had enough ability to do what he wanted to do. He supported Lu Qin unreservedly, not only because he owed Lu Qin a favor, but also because he saw the hope of the country in Lu Qin. Even if in the eyes of most people, Lu Qin was a singer who was good at folk songs. His youth and his handsomeness often made it easy for people to ignore the amazing talent Lu Qin had. Qin Hanyang would shout for Lu Qin even if he didn't say it himself. He just hoped that Lu Qin could create more and better rock and roll works. It didn't matter who he sang it for as long as rock and roll music could return to the public's attention. In Qin Hanyang's eyes, Lu Qin saw his sincerity and saw through his mind. He also understood the real purpose of bringing him to the Black Crow Bar. Qin Hanyang wanted Lu Qin to set up his own flag in this circle. To be honest, Lu Qin didn't care, but he was moved by Qin Hanyang's sincerity and love of rock and roll. After thinking about it, he said, "I'd better sing a new song." Qin Hanyang's eyes lit up and he stuffed the electric guitar in his hand into Lu Qin's arms without hesitation. This was Qin Hanyang's most cherished electric guitar, which cost more than 100,000 yuan to customize from abroad. He had never lent it to anyone except Lu Qin. Lu Qin took the guitar and stood in front of the microphone. Qin Hanyang helped him adjust the height of the microphone and then stepped back to the middle of his teammates. He gave the stage completely to Lu Qin. He used his own actions to express his respect for Lu Qin. The Black Crow Bar was quiet, and even the ignorant guests closed their mouths and even held their breath. Several girls excitedly held their phones with both hands and took pictures of Lu Qin. The Black Raven Bar was different from Forget Grass Bar. Recording and photography were not prohibited here as long as the flash was turned off. Lu Qin took a deep breath and smiled at the microphone. "Thank you, Brother Qin, and thank you, Big Boss Jiang, for your hospitality. I can't repay you, so let's sing a song." Soft laughter rang out in the crowd, but it soon disappeared. Lu Qin continued, "I'm going to sing a new song called Youth. I'm going to give it to myself, to the bionics behind me, and to everyone here. I hope everyone likes it." The applause was warm and long. Even those who didn't like Lu Qin clapped their hands. Lu Qin lowered his head and gently plucked the strings, feeling the friction between his fingers and the steel wire. His heart was moved. "I intend to start at dusk, hitching a ride to a faraway place. There will be a feast for my friends tonight." I hurriedly put on my clothes and pushed the door open. What greeted me was the sultry desire on the street. I leaped lightly, jumped into the river of people. It was drizzling outside. The raindrops were as light as my youth. My face was covered with rain. Just like happiness. There was nothing in my heart. Just like there was no pain. There was everything in this world. Just like everyone had it. At the beginning, the electric guitar accompaniment was so weak that it was almost non-existent. It could basically be considered a cappella. Lu Qin was telling his story. It was not pretentious or angry. It was like a chant inadvertently recalling the past, calm and unhurried. The style was very rare. The lyrics and melody were simple and unadorned, with obvious folk characteristics. But towards the end, whether it was the singing, the accompaniment, or the emotion, they were all strengthened. The foreshadowing and emotions were slowly accumulating, making all the listeners' hearts rise, as if something was about to come out. Until Lu Qin sang. "Keep walking, keep losing while I didn't realize youth. Keep walking, keep losing while I didn't realize youth." The rhythm of the climax came so suddenly, but it was so logical. It was like the lightning and torrential rain after the muffled thunder. It was inevitable and hit everyone's heart hard. Keep walking, keep losing while I didn't realize youth. There was no hoarse roar, but it was a cry of passion and power. Accompanied by the heavy guitar sound, it impacted and echoed in the Black Crow bar, shaking the eardrums. Many people's faces changed. Some people involuntarily clenched their fists, some people could not help but tremble, some people gritted their teeth, and some people were stunned as if they could not believe the song they had just heard. If the first part of Lu Chen's song Youth was still like a folk song, then the chorus and the climax were the real blood of rock and roll. It was passionate and hot-blooded, making people feel that their hearts were about to jump out of their throats and move with the strong rhythm. Such a song, such a work, who else could doubt it? No one. No matter how arrogant and conceited they were, they had to bow their heads. It sang about the people who had lost or were in their youth, the kind of complex that had nowhere to put it. Lu Chen sang it twice. When he finished playing the last note, the Black Crow bar was still quiet. After a while, Big Jiang was the first to stand up and clap his hands hard, one after another. Then everyone stood up and saluted Lu Chen with applause. Salute to an extraordinary singer. Qin Hanyang strode forward and put his arm around Lu Chen's shoulder. He was honored. As mentioned before, the rock singers of Jinling School had a strong artistic atmosphere. They were not so extreme and crazy. Their singing and creative style were light rock. Youth and life were one of the themes of their creation. This song Youth was not poetic and romantic. It told everyone that youth had no beginning, no end, no loneliness, and no half of youth. Similarly, just like everyone has youth, you and I will inevitably be reluctant. You and I will inevitably be lonely. You and I will inevitably stop halfway, and it will inevitably be sad. But no matter what, we must move forward, we must continue to lose, continue to forget. As the song sang, wasn't it a portrayal of the life of many rock singers? This song had conquered them. Someone rushed over quickly, rushed down the stage, and tried to tiptoe to extend his arm to Lu Chen. In his hand was an unopened bottle of beer. Thank you. Lu Chen returned the electric guitar to Qin Hanyang, walked over, and leaned over to take the beer that the other person handed over. He straightened up, unscrewed the cap, raised it high and said, "To everyone and music. Cheers." Many people raised their wine bottles or glasses, including a few girls. They had seen the elegant and affectionate side of Lu Chen on TV or on the internet, but they had never seen him so flamboyant and hot-blooded. They were also infected. Lu Chen drank a bottle of beer. Applause and screams sounded again, full of recognition. After drinking, Lu Chen and Qin Hanyang stepped off the stage together and returned to their original positions. But people kept coming over to toast the two. If it weren't for the help of the bionics, Lu Chen would have had a hard time resisting. With great difficulty, Lu Chen drank at least 7 bottles of beer. Fortunately, they were all small bottles. Big Jiang drank more and his tongue was a little loose. The song, it's really good, really good. He gave Lu Chen a thumbs up and praised him sincerely. Qin Hanyang was even more curious. When did you write this song? He felt that Lu Chen seemed to have written it specifically for tonight's trip to the Black Crow bar. It was incredible. Lu Chen explained, I wrote it before. I felt it was suitable, so I took it out and sang it. It's fine as long as I'm happy. Qin Hanyang was speechless. He could casually take out one of his accumulated works, and it would become a much-told story. For decades, had there been such a figure in the domestic pop music world? Qin Hanyang couldn't think of it. He could only admire Lu Chen's strength. The latter's inspiration and musical ideas were endless, as if they would never dry up. This was the luck of domestic pop music. Everyone continued to chat and drink. It wasn't until 12 o'clock in the evening that Lu Chen and Qin Hanyang were almost drunk. Qin Hanyang stayed in the dormitory in the Black Crow bar, and then Li Feiyu accompanied Lu Chen back to the Marriott Hotel. Li Feiyu supported Lu Chen with one hand and opened the door with Lu Chen's room card in the other. In the end, he was shocked. The lights in the living room of the suite were on, and Chen Fei-er was in the room. Seeing Lu Chen, who was drunk, she quickly greeted him and said angrily, "Why are you drunk like this?" Li Feiyu was very guilty in front of the Heavenly Queen. De Chen had a good chat with Brother Qin, so Chen Fei-er didn't really blame Li Feiyu for not fulfilling his duties as an assistant. She took Lu Chen and said softly, "Leave it to me. Have an early rest." Li Feiyu felt like he had been pardoned. "Thank you, Sister Fei." He quickly closed the door and slipped away, secretly envious of Lu Chen's luck with women. Although Chen Fei-er was a woman, she often exercised and had some strength. In addition, Lu Chen wasn't drunk to the point of being unconscious, so she helped him lie down on the bed in the bedroom. Qin Fei helped Lu Qin take off his shoes and brought a hot towel to wipe his face. When she was about to cover Lu Qin with the blanket, Lu Qin suddenly reached out and pulled her into his arms. Caught off guard, Qin Fei fell on top of Lu Qin and was hugged tightly by Lu Qin. Qin Fei struggled for a while but to no avail. She relaxed and pressed her face against his chest. Lu Qin chuckled and adjusted his position to make it more comfortable. Qin Fei let him be. After a long time, Qin Fei said softly, "Don't drink too much. It's bad for your body." But she didn't get a response from Lu Qin. Only then did she realize that Lu Qin had fallen asleep. He was like a child hugging a big toy. Note: lyrics/composer for youth, Wang Feng. You're tuning in to the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.